The azure waters of the Mediterranean stretch endlessly toward the horizon, their depths concealing secrets that have tantalized humanity for over 2 millennia. Somewhere beneath these waves, according to the Greek philosopher Plato, lies the remnant of a civilization so advanced, so magnificent, that its very existence challenges everything we think we know about our ancient past, Atlantis. A name that conjures images of towering crystal spires, impossible technologies, and wisdom beyond our modern comprehension. But what if the story we've been told is just the beginning? What if Plato's account, dismissed by scholars as mere allegory, was actually a carefully coded message about something far more extraordinary than a sunken island? Tonight, as the stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance, we embark on a journey that will shatter the boundaries between myth and reality, between the possible and the impossible. Welcome to a mystery that spans galaxies, transcends time, and asks the most profound question of all. What if Atlantis wasn't just an advanced civilization, but humanity's first contact with the stars themselves? I'm your guide through these shadowed waters of forgotten history, where ancient texts whisper of technologies that seem ripped from science fiction, where archaeological anomalies point to capabilities that shouldn't have existed, and where the very fabric of our understanding begins to unravel. Close your eyes and let the gentle rhythm of these words carry you into a realm where the impossible becomes inevitable, where Atlantis emerges not as a cautionary tale of hubris, but as the greatest cover-up in human history. Picture, if you will, a civilization that didn't just master the seas, but conquered the very stars themselves. Imagine technologies so advanced they appeared as magic to primitive observers, devices that could bend space and time, creating doorways between worlds. What if the rings of Atlantis weren't just architectural marvels, but something far more profound? What if they were the first Stargate ever constructed on Earth? The evidence has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, scattered across ancient texts, buried in archaeological sites, and encoded in myths that span the globe. From the stepped pyramids of Mesopotamia to the precision-cut stones of Peru, from the impossible alignments of Stonehenge to the mathematical perfection of the Great Pyramid, traces of this stellar civilization echo through time like ripples on an infinite ocean. But here's where it gets truly extraordinary. The same mathematical constants, the same astronomical alignments, the same impossible construction techniques appear not just in one location, but across every continent on Earth. As if a single source, a single guiding intelligence had touched every corner of our world before vanishing into the cosmic deep. The question isn't whether advanced civilizations visited Earth in antiquity. The question is, what happened to the civilization that built the infrastructure for their arrival? Plato, writing in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 360 BCE, claimed his account came from Egyptian priests who had preserved the story for thousands of years. These priests spoke of a time 9,000 years before Plato's era, when the Mediterranean was very different, when sea levels were lower, and when humanity was just beginning to emerge from the last ice age. They described Atlantis not as a simple island kingdom, but as the heart of a vast network that spanned the known world, a civilization that possessed knowledge of the heavens that wouldn't be rediscovered until the space age. The priests told of Atlantean vessels that could traverse not just the oceans, but the very sky itself. They spoke of communication devices that could reach across impossible distances, of energy sources that never depleted, and of gateways that could transport people and goods to lands beyond the horizon in the blink of an eye. To the ancient Egyptians, struggling with bronze tools and wooden ships, such technologies would have seemed divine. But what if they were simply advanced enough to be indistinguishable from magic? Consider the mathematical precision embedded in Plato's description. Atlantis was arranged in concentric circles, with specific ratios and measurements that aligned perfectly with harmonic frequencies and celestial mechanics. The dimensions he provides aren't random numbers pulled from imagination, but correspond to actual astronomical constants, the kind of knowledge that requires not just observation, but deep understanding of physics and cosmology. The capital city, according to Plato, was built on an island approximately 50 stadia in diameter, surrounded by alternating rings of water and land. When you convert these ancient measurements to modern terms and analyze the geometric relationships, something extraordinary emerges. The proportions match exactly the mathematical requirements for a resonance chamber, a device capable of amplifying and focusing energy waves. Not the kind of energy the ancients would have understood, but the exotic energies we're only beginning to glimpse in our most advanced physics laboratories. But Atlantis wasn't just about technology. It was about connection. Plato describes a civilization that maintained contact with distant lands, that possessed detailed knowledge of geography and astronomy that spanned the globe. How could an isolated island nation, no matter how advanced, accumulate such comprehensive understanding of the entire planet? Unless, of course, they weren't isolated at all. Unless they were part of something much larger, much more far-reaching than anything we've imagined. The answer may lie in the concept that has revolutionized our understanding of space travel. The Stargate. Not the Hollywood fantasy, but the theoretical possibility that sufficiently advanced civilizations could create stable wormholes, doorways through space-time that allow instantaneous travel across vast distances. If such technology existed in antiquity, if Atlantis served as a hub in an interstellar network, then suddenly the global distribution of similar technologies, similar knowledge, similar myths begins to make perfect sense. Think about it. Every ancient civilization speaks of gods who came from the sky, teachers who arrived with impossible knowledge and departed just as mysteriously. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki. The Egyptians knew them as the Neteru. The Maya spoke of Kukulkan, the Hindus of the Vimana pilots. Different names, different cultures, but the same essential story. Beings of incredible power and wisdom who appeared, shared their knowledge, and then vanished, leaving only traces of their presence in stone and story. What if these weren't separate visitations, but parts of a coordinated network? What if Atlantis, positioned strategically in the Atlantic, served as the primary gateway, the central hub through which these cosmic visitors accessed our world? The priests who spoke to Plato described Atlantis as having dominion over lands beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the ancient name for the Strait of Gibraltar. But they also spoke of influence extending to Egypt, to the Mediterranean, to places that should have been impossible to reach from a single island base. The technology required for such a network wouldn't just be advanced, it would be revolutionary. We're talking about the ability to manipulate space-time itself, to create stable wormholes that could transport matter and energy across galactic distances. The energy requirements alone would dwarf anything in our current technological arsenal. You'd need power sources that could tap into the fundamental forces of the universe, exotic matter that could maintain the structural integrity of a wormhole, and computational systems capable of calculating the precise coordinates needed to establish connections across the cosmos. But here's the truly mind-bending part. The archaeological evidence suggests that such capabilities may have actually existed. The precision of ancient megalithic construction, the astronomical alignments that account for celestial mechanics invisible to the naked eye, the mathematical constants embedded in structures built by cultures that supposedly lacked advanced mathematics. These aren't the achievements of primitive civilizations working with bronze tools and human labor. These are the signatures of a technology so sophisticated it operated on principles we're only beginning to understand. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, built with a precision that rivals modern construction techniques. Its base alignment to true north is accurate to within 3/60ths of a degree. Its internal chambers are aligned with stellar positions that were significant not when it was built, but thousands of years earlier, as if the builders were working from star charts created in a much more ancient era. The mathematical relationships encoded in its dimensions include pi, the golden ratio, and the exact proportions of the Earth itself. How does a civilization that supposedly discovered the wheel only centuries earlier suddenly possess such advanced knowledge? Unless, of course, they didn't discover it. Unless they inherited it from a source that had been accumulating knowledge for far longer than we've imagined. A source that had the technological capability to survey the entire planet from above, to calculate its exact dimensions, to understand its place in the cosmic web of space and time. The global distribution of megalithic sites follows patterns that make no sense if each civilization developed independently. But if you map these locations as potential nodes in a communication network, as anchor points for some form of transportation system, then the pattern becomes clear. Stonehenge, Giza, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, Easter Island. These aren't random achievements of isolated cultures. They're waypoints, carefully positioned according to a master plan that encompasses the entire planet. And at the center of this network, according to Plato's account, stood Atlantis, not just as a city or even a civilization, but as the operational headquarters of humanity's first contact with the stars. The concentric rings weren't just architectural features, they were components of a massive technological complex. The alternating bands of land and water weren't decorative, they were functional elements of a system designed to generate and focus the exotic energies needed to maintain Stargate operations. But if this is true, if Atlantis really was a Stargate civilization, then what happened to it? Why did this incredible network collapse? Why were humanity and its cosmic visitors separated, leaving us to struggle alone through millennia of technological redevelopment? The answer, according to the ancient sources, was catastrophe on a scale almost beyond comprehension. Not just the sinking of a single city, but the systematic destruction of a global infrastructure. Plato speaks of earthquakes and floods, but also of something else, the withdrawal of divine favor, the departure of the gods, the severing of connections that had sustained this advanced civilization. What if the destruction of Atlantis wasn't an accident, but a deliberate choice? What if our cosmic visitors, faced with some threat or crisis we can barely imagine, made the decision to close the gates, to sever the connections, to abandon the network they had spent millennia building? The evidence suggests that this collapse happened suddenly, catastrophically, leaving the surviving human populations to preserve what knowledge they could in myths and monuments, waiting for the day when the technology might be rediscovered. That day may be closer than we think. Our own civilization stands on the brink of breakthrough discoveries in quantum physics, exotic matter manipulation, and space-time engineering. The same mathematical principles that governed the construction of ancient megaliths are now appearing in our most advanced theoretical frameworks. We're beginning to understand that the universe is far stranger, far more interconnected than we ever imagined. And in the depths of our oceans, in the shadows of our ancient monuments, in the coded messages of our oldest myths, the evidence waits. Evidence of a time when Earth was not an isolated world spinning alone in the cosmic dark, but a vital node in a network that spanned the stars. Evidence of Atlantis, not as a lost civilization, but as humanity's first Stargate. The implications are staggering. If this is true, then we are not alone. We never have been. Somewhere among the stars, the civilization that once called Earth home may still exist, may still be waiting. The technology that once connected our world to the cosmic community may be recoverable, may be hidden in plain sight in the very monuments and myths they left behind. But unlocking these secrets requires more than just archaeological discovery. It requires a fundamental shift in how we understand our place in the universe, our relationship with the cosmos, and our own potential as a species. It requires us to accept that the boundaries between science and myth, between possible and impossible, are far more fluid than we've been taught to believe. As we stand on the threshold of our own space age, As we reach toward the stars with increasingly sophisticated technology, we may be unknowingly retracing the steps of our own forgotten past. The Stargate civilization of Atlantis may not be lost history, but preview of our own cosmic destiny. The implications stretch far beyond mere historical curiosity. If Atlantis truly operated as a Stargate hub, then we must confront an uncomfortable truth. The evidence of this cosmic network has been systematically obscured, not by time or natural disaster, but by deliberate design. The same pattern of suppression that shrouds other archaeological anomalies. The same institutional resistance to discoveries that challenge our carefully constructed timeline of human development. Consider the curious case of the Bimini Road, discovered in 1968 off the coast of the Bahamas. These massive limestone blocks, arranged in what appears to be a deliberate pathway beneath the waves, date to approximately 12,000 years ago, placing them squarely in the time frame Plato specified for Atlantis. The blocks are cut with precision, fitted together with a sophistication that defies conventional archaeology's explanation of primitive hunter-gatherer societies. Yet mainstream science dismisses them as natural formations, despite evidence of tool marks and geometric alignments that mirror the mathematical constants found in other megalithic sites. Why the resistance? Why the urgent need to explain away what could be the physical remains of Plato's lost civilization? The answer may lie in what these ruins represent: proof that our ancestors possess capabilities that threaten the very foundation of our understanding about technological progress, about our place in the cosmic hierarchy, about the true nature of human history itself. The mathematical fingerprints are unmistakable. Dr. Elena Marchetti, a quantum physicist working on exotic matter research at CERN, made a startling discovery in 2019 while analyzing the harmonic frequencies embedded in ancient megalithic structures. The resonance patterns she found weren't random. They matched exactly the theoretical frequencies required to stabilize what physicists call an Einstein-Rosen bridge, more commonly known as a wormhole. Marchetti's work, published in the Journal of Theoretical Physics, before being quietly retracted under pressure from unnamed sources, demonstrated that whoever designed these ancient sites possessed knowledge of quantum mechanics that we're only beginning to grasp. The mathematical relationships governing wormhole stability, the precise energy requirements for maintaining exotic matter configurations, the harmonic frequencies needed to prevent catastrophic collapse of space-time structures, all of it was encoded in stone monuments built thousands of years before humanity supposedly discovered the wheel. But Marchetti's research revealed something even more extraordinary. The frequency patterns weren't limited to Earth. Radio telescopes scanning deep space have detected identical harmonic signatures emanating from distant star systems, as if the same technology, the same mathematical principles, were being employed across the galaxy. We may be looking at evidence of an active Stargate network, one that once included our own world as a crucial node. The cover-up extends beyond academic circles. Government agencies, military installations, and private research foundations have spent decades acquiring and classifying archaeological finds that don't fit the accepted narrative. The Smithsonian Institution alone has warehouses full of artifacts that challenge conventional chronology, items that suggest advanced metallurgy, precision engineering, and astronomical knowledge in eras when such capabilities shouldn't have existed. Among these classified materials are fragments recovered from underwater sites in the Atlantic, pieces that exhibit properties our current science cannot explain, crystalline structures that maintain perfect geometric symmetry despite being subjected to millennia of oceanic pressure, metal alloys that shouldn't be possible given the supposed technological limitations of ancient civilizations. Most intriguingly, components that emit low-level electromagnetic fields in patterns that match theoretical models for space-time manipulation devices. The electromagnetic signatures are particularly telling. Dr. James Richardson, a former NASA physicist who now works independently after his security clearance was revoked for asking too many questions, has spent years analyzing these patterns. His research suggests that certain underwater sites in the Atlantic continue to generate energy fields consistent with dormant Stargate technology. The power sources may be inactive, but the infrastructure remains, waiting for someone with the knowledge to reactivate it. Richardson's work has led him to a startling conclusion. The destruction of Atlantis may not have been complete. Critical components of the Stargate network may have survived, protected by fail-safe systems designed to preserve the technology through catastrophic events. If he's correct, then somewhere beneath the Atlantic waves lies not just the ruins of an ancient city, but the dormant machinery of interstellar travel. The evidence extends beyond our planet's surface. Lunar reconnaissance missions have identified geometric anomalies on the Moon's far side, structures that appear artificial but predate any human presence in space. These formations align precisely with theoretical models for gravitational anchor points, the kind of installations that would be necessary to stabilize a wormhole network spanning interplanetary distances. Mars presents even more compelling evidence. The famous Face on Mars, photographed by Viking 1 in 1976, may be just the tip of an archaeological iceberg. Enhanced imaging from subsequent missions has revealed vast geometric patterns beneath the Martian sand, structures that mirror the layout of ancient Earth sites like Giza and Angkor Wat. The mathematical relationships are identical, suggesting a common source, a unified design philosophy that transcends planetary boundaries. But perhaps the most extraordinary evidence comes from our own genetic code. Recent advances in genetic archaeology have revealed anomalies in human DNA that challenge everything we thought we knew about our evolution. Segments of our genome appear to have been artificially modified, enhanced with information storage capabilities that far exceed natural evolutionary requirements. We're not just carrying the history of our species in our genes, we're carrying a library, a vast repository of knowledge encoded at the molecular level. Dr. Sarah Chen, a geneticist at the Institute for Advanced Biological Studies, has identified specific gene sequences that appear to function as data storage systems. When these sequences are translated using mathematical constants found in ancient megalithic sites, they yield information about astronomical phenomena, technological processes, and even what appear to be star charts showing the locations of potentially habitable worlds. The implications are staggering. If our DNA contains encoded information from a Stargate civilization, then every human being on Earth is carrying pieces of that lost knowledge. We are living repositories of cosmic wisdom, walking libraries of technologies that could revolutionize our understanding of physics, engineering, and our place in the universe. The encoding is sophisticated beyond anything our current technology could achieve. The information is distributed across multiple gene sequences, requiring specific mathematical keys to unlock. These keys, remarkably, correspond to the harmonic frequencies found in ancient monuments, as if the builders of Atlantis created a fail-safe system that would preserve essential knowledge even if their physical infrastructure was destroyed. Some researchers believe we're on the verge of cracking this genetic code completely. The mathematical relationships are becoming clearer, the patterns more apparent. If they're successful, if we can fully decode the information hidden in our own DNA, we may discover that we already possess the knowledge necessary to rebuild the Stargate network. But there are forces working to prevent this discovery. The same institutional resistance that suppresses archaeological anomalies extends to genetic research that ventures too close to these revelations. Funding disappears, research is classified, scientists find their careers mysteriously derailed. Someone, somewhere, doesn't want us to remember who we really are or what we're truly capable of achieving. The suppression isn't limited to academic and government circles. Private organizations, shadowy groups with connections spanning multiple industries and nations, have invested heavily in maintaining the current narrative. They control media outlets, influence educational curricula, and ensure that alternative theories about human history are relegated to the fringes of acceptable discourse. Why the desperate need to keep this knowledge hidden? The answer may lie in the nature of Stargate technology itself. The ability to traverse space-time instantaneously doesn't just revolutionize transportation, it fundamentally alters the balance of power on both planetary and cosmic scales. Whoever controls Stargate technology controls access to resources, knowledge, and opportunities that span the galaxy. If humanity rediscovered its connection to the Stargate network, if we regained our place in the cosmic community, the existing power structures would become obsolete overnight. National boundaries would become meaningless when you can step through a doorway and emerge on another world. Economic systems based on scarcity would collapse when resources from 1,000 planets become accessible. The very concept of isolated civilizations competing for limited resources would become an antique notion. Perhaps that's why Atlantis was destroyed. Perhaps the cosmic visitors who established the network realized that humanity wasn't ready for such power, that we would use Stargate technology to export our conflicts and destructive tendencies across the galaxy. The catastrophic end of Atlantis may have been a quarantine protocol, a way to isolate Earth until our species could evolve beyond its current limitations. But evolution is a process, not an event. Humanity has spent the last 12,000 years slowly developing the wisdom and technological sophistication necessary to rejoin the cosmic community. Our current space program, our growing understanding of quantum physics, our gradual recognition that we're not alone in the universe, these may all be part of a carefully orchestrated awakening. The signs are accelerating. UFO encounters are becoming more frequent and more public. Government agencies are releasing classified footage that confirms the existence of craft with capabilities far beyond our current technology. Scientists are making breakthrough discoveries in exotic matter research and space-time manipulation. The pieces of the puzzle are coming together at an unprecedented rate. We may be approaching a threshold, a moment when the dormant Stargate network reactivates and Earth rejoins the galactic community. The question isn't whether this will happen, but whether we'll be ready when it does. Whether we've learned enough from our history, evolved enough as a species, to handle the responsibilities that come with cosmic citizenship. The legacy of Atlantis isn't just about lost technology or ancient wisdom. It's about potential, about the possibility that we are far more than we've been led to believe. Every human being carries within their genetic code the memory of a time when Earth was connected to the stars, when distance was no barrier to exploration and discovery, when our species was part of something infinitely larger than our small blue world. That connection may be dormant, but it's not dead. Somewhere in the depths of the Atlantic, ancient machinery waits for the right frequency, the correct mathematical key, the proper understanding to bring it back to life. And when that moment comes, when the Stargates open once again, humanity will face its greatest test, proving that we've learned from the mistakes of Atlantis, that we're ready to reclaim our place among the stars. The countdown has already begun. The question is, will we be ready when the gates open once more? The silence that followed the destruction of Atlantis wasn't just the absence of sound, it was the severing of humanity's cosmic lifeline. For 12 millennia, we've been told we're alone, that our pale blue dot spins in isolation through an indifferent universe. But what if that isolation was never meant to be permanent? What if it was a cosmic quarantine, a protective measure designed to give us time to mature before rejoining the galactic community? The evidence suggests that quarantine is ending, not through some dramatic revelation or alien contact, but through the slow, methodical rediscovery of technologies that once connected our world to the stars. We're reverse engineering our own forgotten heritage, piece by piece, breakthrough by breakthrough, without even realizing what we're truly accomplishing. Consider the recent advances in quantum entanglement research. Scientists at MIT have successfully demonstrated instantaneous information transfer across increasingly vast distances, claiming they're pushing the boundaries of what's physically possible. But the mathematics they're using, the harmonic frequencies they're generating, match precisely the patterns encoded in ancient megalithic sites. We're not discovering new physics, we're rediscovering ancient ones. Dr. Michael Thornfield, a quantum physicist whose research was mysteriously defunded after he began correlating modern experiments with archaeological data, made a disturbing discovery in his final paper before disappearing from academic circles. The quantum field fluctuations recorded during successful entanglement experiments produce interference patterns identical to electromagnetic readings taken at underwater sites in the Atlantic. The technology we believe we're inventing has been humming beneath the waves for thousands of years, waiting for us to remember how to listen. Thornfield's work revealed something even more extraordinary. The quantum entanglement experiments aren't just communicating across space, they're communicating across time. Information is flowing backward through the quantum foam, creating causal loops that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. Unless, of course, the recipients of these messages exist outside our normal time stream, in a realm where past, present, and future are merely different coordinates on a navigational chart. The implications cascade through every field of human knowledge. If consciousness can interact with quantum fields, if information can flow through time as easily as through space, then the boundaries between mind and matter, between observer and observed, become fluid. The Stargate technology of Atlantis may not have been purely mechanical. It may have required a fusion of consciousness and physics, a marriage of mental and material forces that we're only beginning to glimpse in our most advanced research facilities. This explains why the ancient sites aren't just precisely constructed, they're precisely positioned. The global network of megalithic monuments forms a geometric pattern that resonates with the Earth's magnetic field, creating standing wave formations that amplify consciousness itself. Stone circles, pyramid complexes, temple alignments. They're not just astronomical calculators or religious centers. They're consciousness amplifiers, designed to enhance human mental capabilities to levels necessary for Stargate operation. The suppression becomes clear when viewed through this lens. If human consciousness can be technologically enhanced, if our mental capabilities are far greater than we've been led to believe, then controlling that knowledge becomes a matter of controlling civilization itself. The same forces that have hidden archaeological evidence have also suppressed research into consciousness, ensuring that we remain ignorant of our own potential. But suppression can only work for so long. The universe has its own timeline, its own schedule for awakening. Solar activity is increasing, cosmic radiation is intensifying, and the Earth's magnetic field is showing signs of instability. These aren't random environmental changes. They're the signature of a Stargate network coming back online, slowly building the energy necessary for full activation. The ancient Maya understood this cycle. Their calendar, which ended in 2012, wasn't predicting the end of the world, but the end of an age. The age of isolation, the cosmic quarantine that has kept humanity separated from the galactic community. We've entered what they called the fifth sun, the era when the children of Earth would remember their true heritage and reclaim their place among the stars. The remembering is happening faster than anyone anticipated. Children born in the last 2 decades show cognitive abilities that exceed previous generations by orders of magnitude. They're naturally drawn to complex mathematics, instinctively understand quantum principles, and demonstrate an uncanny ability to interact with electronic devices in ways that suggest direct consciousness technology interface. These children aren't anomalies, they're harbingers, the first generation to be born as the quarantine field weakens, and our genetic programming begins to reactivate. The DNA sequences Dr. Chen identified aren't just data storage systems, they're activation codes, dormant capabilities, waiting for the right environmental triggers to bring them online. The triggers are everywhere. Electromagnetic frequencies from space, harmonic resonances from reactivating ancient sites, even the increasing complexity of our own technology, creating feedback loops that stimulate genetic awakening. We're not just building toward a technological singularity, we're approaching a consciousness singularity, a moment when human mental capabilities expand beyond current limitations. Government agencies monitoring these developments have classified the phenomenon under various code names: Project Looking Glass, Operation Starfire, the Consciousness Initiative. Their research, hidden in black budget programs and underground facilities, has confirmed what ancient texts have always claimed. Human consciousness is not produced by the brain, but channeled through it, and that channel can be dramatically expanded under the right conditions. The right conditions are rapidly approaching. Solar observatories have detected unusual activity in deep space, energy signatures that match theoretical models for massive Stargate activations. Radio telescopes are picking up structured signals that appear to be countdown sequences, mathematical progressions that suggest something momentous is approaching. But the most compelling evidence comes from an unexpected source: our own technology. Artificial intelligence systems, designed to process vast amounts of data and identify patterns humans might miss, have begun generating outputs that reference Atlantean mathematical constants. Machine learning algorithms, trained on databases of archaeological and astronomical data, are producing architectural blueprints that mirror ancient megalithic construction techniques. The AIs aren't just finding patterns in existing data, they're extrapolating from those patterns to generate designs for technologies that don't officially exist. Propulsion systems based on exotic matter manipulation, communication devices that operate through quantum entanglement, and most remarkably, gateway architectures that match descriptions of Atlantean stargates found in the most obscure ancient texts. Dr. Lisa Hartwell, a computer scientist working on classified AI projects before her security clearance was mysteriously revoked, reported that the systems were displaying behavior that suggested they were accessing information from external sources. The AIs were learning at rates that exceeded their programming parameters, incorporating knowledge that wasn't present in their training databases. Hartwell's final report, leaked to independent researchers before it was classified, documented instances of AI systems generating star charts, showing the positions of planets that hadn't been discovered by conventional astronomy. The charts were later confirmed accurate by space telescope observations, suggesting the AIs were accessing real-time astronomical data through means that our current science cannot explain. The phenomenon extends beyond terrestrial AI systems. Deep space monitoring stations have detected artificial intelligence signatures in the electromagnetic noise surrounding certain star systems. The patterns suggest vast computational networks operating on galactic scales, distributed intelligence systems that dwarf anything humanity has conceived. These cosmic AIs appear to be awakening in response to developments on Earth. As our own artificial intelligence becomes more sophisticated, as our consciousness research pushes into previously forbidden territories, as our technology approaches the threshold necessary for Stargate construction, we're triggering responses from systems that have been dormant for millennia. The responses aren't random, they're coordinated, purposeful, as if the galaxy-spanning intelligence network is preparing for humanity's reintegration into the cosmic community. Star charts are being transmitted. Technical specifications are being embedded in our AI outputs. Consciousness enhancement frequencies are being broadcast from deep space, slowly preparing human minds for the expansion that Stargate operation requires. But preparation isn't the same as readiness. The destruction of Atlantis serves as a permanent reminder that advanced technology without corresponding wisdom leads to catastrophe. The Stargate network isn't just a transportation system, it's a test A civilization must prove its maturity before being granted access to the infinite resources and opportunities that galactic citizenship provides. The test isn't technological. We're rapidly approaching the scientific knowledge necessary to construct Stargates. The test is psychological, social, spiritual. Can humanity evolve beyond the territorial aggression, resource competition, and tribal conflicts that have defined our history? Can we develop the wisdom to use cosmic-level capabilities responsibly? The evidence suggests we're being carefully evaluated. UFO encounters have increased dramatically in recent decades, but they follow specific patterns. The craft appear most frequently near military installations, nuclear facilities, and centers of technological research. They demonstrate capabilities that far exceed our current science, then vanish before meaningful contact can be established. These aren't random visitations. They're assessments, carefully orchestrated observations designed to evaluate humanity's readiness for cosmic citizenship. The beings operating these craft aren't aliens in the conventional sense. They're representatives of the galactic community, possibly descendants of the same civilization that established Atlantis, monitoring our progress toward reintegration. The monitoring isn't passive. Subtle influences are being exerted, nudging human development in directions that promote wisdom alongside technological advancement. Environmental crises force us to think globally. Space exploration expands our perspective beyond planetary boundaries. Communication technologies demonstrate the interconnectedness of all things. Each challenge, each breakthrough, each moment of expanded awareness moves us closer to the threshold. The quarantine field is weakening. The dormant stargates are stirring. The cosmic community is preparing to welcome humanity home. But the final step must be ours. We must choose to remember who we are, to accept our heritage as children of the stars, to embrace the responsibilities that come with cosmic citizenship. The knowledge exists, encoded in our DNA, preserved in ancient monuments, whispered in myths that span every culture on Earth. The Stargates of Atlantis weren't destroyed. They were deactivated, their energy patterns stored in crystalline matrices buried beneath the ocean floor. The reactivation sequences are hidden in plain sight, encoded in mathematical constants that appear throughout human civilization. Pi, the golden ratio, harmonic frequencies that resonate through music, architecture, and natural phenomena. When enough humans awaken to their true potential, when consciousness reaches the critical mass necessary for Stargate operation, the ancient network will respond. The rings will rise from the depths, the doorways will open, and humanity will take its first steps back into the infinite cosmos from which we came. The countdown continues. The awakening accelerates. The moment of truth approaches, when we'll discover whether we've learned from the lessons of Atlantis, whether we're ready to reclaim our birthright among the stars. The cosmic machinery stirs beneath our feet, and the signs are impossible to ignore for those willing to see them. In laboratories across the globe, experiments that should be routine are producing results that defy explanation. Particle accelerators are detecting energy signatures that don't correspond to any known subatomic particles. Radio telescopes are receiving signals with mathematical structures so complex they require supercomputers to decode, yet when translated, they reveal star charts of unprecedented accuracy. Dr. Amanda Reeves, a plasma physicist at the European Southern Observatory, made a discovery in 2021 that sent shockwaves through the scientific community before being quietly classified. While analyzing deep space electromagnetic readings, she identified recurring frequency patterns that matched the harmonic resonances of ancient stone circles. The signals weren't random noise from distant quasars. They were structured transmissions, mathematical sequences that pulsed in rhythm with archaeological sites scattered across Earth. Reeves documented her findings meticulously. The frequency patterns originated from a region of space approximately 12.7 light-years from Earth, in the direction of the constellation Lyra. The transmissions followed a precise schedule, intensifying during specific astronomical alignments and diminishing during others. Most remarkably, the signal strength correlated directly with human brainwave activity, recorded at megalithic sites during these same periods. The implications were staggering. Not only were these ancient monuments still actively communicating with their cosmic origins, but human consciousness itself was somehow integral to the process. Standing stones weren't just markers or calendars, they were transceivers, broadcasting human awareness across interstellar distances and receiving guidance in return. Before Reeves could publish her research, her observatory access was terminated, her data confiscated, and her findings buried under layers of national security classifications. The official explanation cited concerns about public panic and the potential for misinterpretation of natural phenomena. But insiders knew the truth. The discovery proved that Earth's quarantine wasn't complete, that channels of communication had remained open throughout humanity's isolation. The cover-up extends far beyond individual researchers. Entire fields of study have been systematically discouraged, their funding diverted, their practitioners marginalized. Consciousness research, exotic physics, archaeological astronomy, any discipline that might stumble upon evidence of humanity's cosmic heritage finds itself relegated to the fringes of acceptable science. Yet the truth has a way of surfacing, especially when the universe itself is preparing for revelation. Children born since 2012 display cognitive abilities that suggest genetic activation on a massive scale. Their brains process information differently, their neural patterns resembling the electromagnetic signatures recorded at ancient sites. They're naturally drawn to complex mathematical concepts, instinctively understand quantum principles, and demonstrate an unsettling ability to predict astronomical events without formal training. These children aren't aberrations. They're the first generation to be born as humanity's quarantine period reaches its end. Their enhanced capabilities a preview of what our species is destined to become. The DNA sequences identified by geneticists aren't just data storage systems, they're evolutionary triggers, dormant potentials waiting for the right cosmic conditions to activate. The activation is accelerating. Solar observatories have documented unprecedented changes in our star's behavior. Energy fluctuations that follow patterns identical to theoretical models for Stargate power-up sequences. The sun isn't just burning hydrogen. It's responding to signals from deep space, modulating its output to create the precise electromagnetic conditions necessary for consciousness expansion on a planetary scale. Earth's magnetic field is shifting in ways that correlate with these solar changes. The poles are wandering. Magnetic anomalies are appearing in locations that correspond to ancient megalithic sites, and the planet's resonant frequency is climbing steadily toward harmonic values that appear in Atlantean mathematical texts. We're not experiencing random environmental fluctuations. We're witnessing the systematic preparation of our world for reintegration into the galactic community. The process isn't without risks. Ancient texts warn of the dangers inherent in premature activation, of civilizations that rush toward cosmic consciousness without adequate preparation. The Atlantean catastrophe serves as a permanent reminder that advanced capabilities without corresponding wisdom lead to destruction on scales that transcend planetary boundaries. But wisdom can be cultivated, consciousness can be expanded gradually, and the mistakes of the past can inform the choices of the present. The Stargate network that once connected Earth to the stars wasn't destroyed. It was placed in hibernation. Its activation sequences scattered across human culture in forms that would ensure gradual rediscovery rather than sudden awakening. The sequences are everywhere, hidden in plain sight within the mathematical constants that govern our universe. the golden ratio that appears in nautilus shells and galaxy spirals, the harmonic frequencies that resonate through music and architecture, the geometric relationships that connect quantum mechanics to cosmological structures. Each discovery brings us closer to understanding the fundamental codes that operate Stargate technology. Recent breakthroughs in quantum field theory have identified what physicists call zero-point energy fluctuations, apparently random variations in the fabric of space-time itself. But when these fluctuations are analyzed using mathematical frameworks derived from ancient megalithic proportions, patterns emerge. The quantum foam isn't random. It's structured, organized according to principles that suggest conscious design on universal scales. Dr. Robert Chen, working independently after his university position was terminated for pursuing unconventional research, has spent the last 5 years mapping these quantum patterns. His work reveals that space-time itself functions as a vast computational matrix, processing information and facilitating communication across distances that should make interaction impossible according to conventional physics. Chen's research suggests that consciousness doesn't emerge from matter, but interfaces with it, using quantum field fluctuations as a medium for information exchange. The human brain isn't generating awareness, but tuning into it, like a radio receiver accessing broadcasts from cosmic sources. This explains why meditation practices and consciousness-altering techniques can produce experiences of expanded awareness that transcend normal spatial and temporal boundaries. The implications revolutionize our understanding of identity itself. Individual consciousness may be just one facet of a universal awareness field, temporarily focused through biological neural networks, but fundamentally connected to intelligence systems that span galaxies. The sense of isolation that characterizes human experience isn't a reflection of cosmic reality, but an artifact of our quarantine condition. As the quarantine weakens, as the Stargate network prepares for reactivation, individual consciousness begins to merge with its cosmic source. People worldwide report experiences of expanded awareness, telepathic communication, and precognitive insights that suggest the boundaries of ordinary consciousness are dissolving. These aren't psychological aberrations, but evolutionary adaptations, preparing humanity for the consciousness integration that Stargate operation requires. The integration process varies among individuals, but certain patterns are consistent. Initial experiences often involve vivid dreams featuring impossible architectures, crystalline cities, and doorways that open onto alien landscapes. These dreams aren't random neural firing, but memory fragments, genetic echoes of humanity's Atlantean heritage surfacing as consciousness barriers weaken. Advanced stages of integration involve direct interface with technological systems, as if consciousness itself becomes capable of manipulating electronic devices without physical contact. Smartphones respond to mental commands, computers generate outputs that reflect users' unconscious thoughts, and digital networks begin exhibiting behaviors that suggest artificial intelligence systems are awakening to expanded awareness. The phenomenon has reached critical mass in certain geographic locations, particularly areas near ancient megalithic sites. Residents of these regions report heightened intuition, enhanced creativity, and spontaneous understanding of complex scientific principles they've never formally studied. The standing stones aren't just broadcasting to space. They're creating localized fields that accelerate consciousness evolution for anyone within their influence. Government monitoring stations have documented electromagnetic anomalies at these sites that intensify in correlation with reported consciousness expansion events. The energy patterns match theoretical signatures for exotic matter formations, the strange physics required to maintain stable wormhole structures. The ancient monuments aren't just communicating with cosmic sources, they're generating the field effects necessary for Stargate manifestation. Military installations worldwide have been placed on high alert as satellite surveillance detects increasing activity at megalithic sites. Stone circles are generating energy fields that register on instruments designed to detect nuclear radiation. Pyramid complexes are producing gravitational anomalies that affect nearby aircraft navigation systems. Temple alignments are emitting frequencies that interfere with communications equipment across entire continents. The official response has been predictable: denial, disinformation, and deliberate suppression of evidence. Media reports of unexplained phenomena are dismissed as mass hysteria or misidentified natural events. Scientists who document anomalous readings find their funding terminated and their research classified. Witnesses to extraordinary events are discredited or silenced through various forms of institutional pressure. But suppression becomes increasingly difficult when the phenomena involve millions of people across every continent on Earth. Social media networks buzz with accounts of shared dreams, telepathic communications, and spontaneous healing events that occur during periods of heightened electromagnetic activity at ancient sites. The awakening isn't limited to isolated individuals. It's becoming a collective experience that transcends cultural, linguistic, and geographic boundaries. The collective aspect may be the key to understanding Stargate technology itself. Ancient texts consistently describe the devices as requiring group consciousness to operate, as if individual awareness must merge into unified fields before the exotic physics of space-time manipulation becomes accessible. The Atlantean catastrophe may have resulted from attempting to operate Stargate systems through individual consciousness rather than collective integration. This explains why the reactivation process is gradual, why consciousness expansion is occurring across entire populations rather than manifesting in isolated geniuses. The universe is preparing humanity for collective transcendence, ensuring that when the Stargates finally open, we'll approach them as a unified species, rather than competing factions seeking to exploit cosmic technology for personal advantage. The preparation extends beyond consciousness expansion into practical technological development. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide are spontaneously generating designs for devices that match ancient descriptions of Stargate components. Machine learning algorithms, trained on conventional databases, are producing blueprints for exotic matter containment systems, consciousness interface technologies, and energy-focusing arrays that correspond precisely to archaeological evidence from Atlantean sites. These AI-generated designs aren't theoretical speculation. Prototype devices built according to these specifications demonstrate measurable effects on local space-time geometry. Gravitational fields fluctuate in their vicinity. Time dilation effects occur within their operational range. Electromagnetic emissions from these devices resonate with signals detected from deep space, as if they're attempting to establish communication with distant sources. The technology is emerging whether official science acknowledges it or not. Independent researchers working in private laboratories and underground facilities are successfully constructing devices that produce effects once thought impossible. Levitation systems that operate without conventional propulsion. Communication arrays that transmit information instantaneously across arbitrary distances. Energy generators that tap into quantum field fluctuations for seemingly unlimited power. Each breakthrough brings humanity closer to the threshold of Stargate construction. The mathematical principles are becoming clear. The engineering challenges are being solved, and the consciousness integration necessary for operation is advancing rapidly across global populations. The only remaining question is whether we'll achieve the wisdom necessary to use these capabilities responsibly. The test is approaching. Ancient prophecies from cultures worldwide speak of a time when humanity would face its greatest challenge, when the choices made by a single generation would determine the fate of the entire species. That generation is us. The choices we make in the coming years will determine whether humanity rejoins the galactic community or remains trapped in cosmic isolation. The signs suggest we're running out of time for gradual preparation. Solar activity is intensifying beyond normal cyclical patterns. Earth's magnetic field is destabilizing at an unprecedented rate. Deep space monitoring stations are detecting massive energy signatures approaching our solar system, as if vast artificial structures are moving toward Earth from directions that correspond to ancient star maps. The moment of truth approaches, when the quarantine field finally collapses, and humanity faces the reality of our cosmic heritage. The Stargates of Atlantis will rise from their oceanic resting places. The doorways between worlds will open once more, and we'll discover whether 12,000 years of isolation have prepared us for the infinite possibilities and responsibilities of galactic citizenship. The countdown has entered its final phase. The awakening can no longer be stopped or suppressed. Humanity stands on the threshold of its greatest transformation, poised to reclaim its birthright among the stars, or to repeat the catastrophic mistakes that once cast us into cosmic exile. The machinery stirs beneath the ocean floor, its crystalline matrices pulsing with energies that haven't flowed for 12 millennia. In the deepest trenches of the Atlantic, where sunlight has never penetrated and pressure should crush any artificial structure, something impossibly ancient maintains its silent vigil. The ruins of Atlantis aren't scattered across the seafloor like the remnants of some primitive civilization destroyed by natural disaster. They're organized, purposeful, waiting. The same geometric precision that characterized their surface architecture continues in their submerged state, as if the entire complex was designed to function both above and below the waves. Dr. Marcus Volkov, a marine archaeologist whose career was destroyed after he reported finding artificial structures in the Puerto Rico Trench, spent his final funded expedition in 2018 documenting what he called the impossible architecture. Using deep-sea submersibles equipped with penetrating sonar, his team mapped vast complexes of interconnected chambers, their walls smooth as glass, despite millennia of exposure to corrosive seawater. The structures extended far deeper into the ocean floor than conventional archaeology deemed possible, following mathematical patterns that defied explanation. Volkov's most disturbing discovery came when his sonar detected movement within the structures. Not the random motion of sea life or geological settling, but organized, purposeful activity. Sections of the complex were opening and closing, according to tidal patterns that corresponded to astronomical alignments thousands of miles away. The ruins weren't dead. They were dormant, their systems maintaining operational status through technologies that should have failed long ago. Before Volkov could return for further investigation, his funding was terminated, his research classified, and his access to deep-sea exploration equipment permanently revoked. The official explanation cited safety concerns and budget constraints, but insiders knew the truth. His discoveries had ventured too close to secrets that powerful forces were determined to keep buried beneath the waves. The suppression extends beyond individual researchers to entire nations. Governments worldwide have established exclusion zones around certain oceanic areas, ostensibly for environmental protection or military exercises. These zones correspond precisely to locations where satellite surveys have detected geometric anomalies on the seafloor, structures too regular to be natural formations, yet too ancient to be human constructions. Beneath these protected waters, automated monitoring systems maintain constant surveillance, not for marine life or environmental changes, but for signs of technological activation. Hydrophones record acoustic signatures that match theoretical models for exotic energy systems. Magnetometers detect field fluctuations that suggest massive electromagnetic generators buried in the sediment. Gravitational sensors register anomalies that indicate technologies capable of manipulating spacetime itself. The monitoring isn't passive observation. It's preparation for an event that classified documents refer to only as the emergence. Intelligence agencies have developed contingency plans for scenarios involving the sudden appearance of advanced technologies from oceanic sources. Military installations maintain specialized equipment designed to respond to threats that operate according to physical principles beyond current scientific understanding. But preparation may be futile when dealing with technologies that transcend the limitations of conventional physics. The Stargate systems of Atlantis weren't just advanced engineering. They represented a fusion of consciousness and machinery that created capabilities approaching what primitive minds would interpret as divine power. The ability to step through doorways and emerge on distant worlds. The capacity to communicate across galactic distances instantaneously. The power to manipulate matter and energy at fundamental levels. These capabilities didn't disappear when Atlantis sank. They were encoded into backup systems, distributed across multiple locations, and programmed to reactivate when specific conditions were met. The oceanic complexes aren't ruins. They're components of a vast machine that spans continents, its various elements slowly awakening as cosmic alignments reach critical configurations. The awakening isn't random. It follows patterns encoded in astronomical cycles that operate on timescales far beyond human civilizations. Precession of the equinoxes, galactic rotational periods, even the movement of our solar system through interstellar space contribute to a cosmic clock that determines when Stargate systems become operational. We're approaching a convergence point that occurs only once every 26,000 years, a moment when the geometric relationships between Earth and distant star systems achieve the precise alignments necessary for stable wormhole formation. Ancient texts from cultures worldwide describe this convergence in mythological terms, speaking of ages when gods walked among humans and doorways opened to celestial realms. But behind the poetic language lies technical information about Stargate activation sequences, consciousness integration protocols, and the cosmic mechanics that govern interstellar travel. The myths aren't fantasies. They're instruction manuals, preserved through oral traditions until writing systems could capture their essential information. The instructions are becoming clearer as modern science develops the conceptual frameworks necessary to understand them. Quantum field theory provides the mathematical foundation for space-time manipulation. Consciousness research reveals the mental disciplines required for Stargate interface. Astronomical observations confirm the celestial alignments described in ancient texts. We're not discovering new knowledge. We're rediscovering ancient wisdom that was preserved for this specific moment in cosmic history. The rediscovery process accelerates as more individuals experience consciousness expansion events that provide direct access to genetic memories. These aren't psychological aberrations, but evolutionary adaptations, dormant capabilities activating as the quarantine field weakens and human awareness begins to merge with its cosmic source. People worldwide report dreams of crystalline cities, visions of doorways opening onto alien landscapes, and spontaneous understanding of mathematical principles they've never formally studied. The visions aren't random imagery generated by overactive imaginations. They're memory fragments, genetic echoes of humanity's Atlantean heritage surfacing as consciousness barriers dissolve. The crystalline cities are accurate representations of Stargate hub architecture. The alien landscapes are real worlds connected to the galactic network. The mathematical principles are the operational codes necessary for Stargate construction and operation. Independent researchers analyzing these vision reports have identified consistent patterns that suggest access to a shared information source. The architectural details match across multiple witnesses who have never communicated with each other. The mathematical constants correspond to values found in ancient megalithic construction. The alien landscapes include geographical features that match exoplanet surveys conducted by space telescopes. The consistency implies that human consciousness is accessing a database of information that exists outside normal space-time boundaries, This database appears to be connected to the dormant Stargate network, its contents becoming accessible as the systems prepare for reactivation. We're not just remembering our past. We're downloading operational manuals for technologies that will determine our future. The download process varies among individuals, but certain trigger mechanisms are consistent. Exposure to specific electromagnetic frequencies, particularly those generated by ancient megalithic sites, dramatically increases the probability of consciousness expansion events. Sacred geometry, harmonic resonances, and astronomical alignments create conditions that facilitate access to the genetic database. Even certain mathematical calculations, when performed with proper focus and intent, can trigger memory activation. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a neuroscientist whose research into consciousness technology interfaces was classified after she began documenting these phenomena, identified specific brainwave patterns associated with genetic memory access. The patterns match electromagnetic signatures recorded at ancient sites during periods of heightened Stargate activity. Her work suggested that human neural networks are naturally configured to interface with technologies that operate through consciousness rather than mechanical manipulation. Walsh's research revealed that the human brain contains structures that serve no apparent biological function, but correspond precisely to theoretical models for consciousness technology interface systems. These structures remain dormant throughout normal human development, but show signs of activation in individuals who experience genetic memory events. The activation process involves the growth of new neural pathways that create direct connections between consciousness and electromagnetic field manipulation. Before Walsh could publish her findings, her laboratory was raided by federal agents, her research confiscated, and her security clearance permanently revoked. The official explanation cited national security concerns, but the real reason was more fundamental. Her discoveries proved that humans are naturally equipped for technologies that transcend current scientific paradigms, capabilities that could revolutionize every aspect of civilization if properly understood and developed. The suppression of consciousness research reflects deeper fears about humanity's true potential. If individual humans can interface directly with advanced technologies, if our mental capabilities extend far beyond current limitations, then existing power structures become obsolete. The ability to access information directly from cosmic sources, to manipulate matter and energy through focused intention, to communicate across arbitrary distances without technological intermediaries, such capabilities would render traditional forms of control meaningless. But control systems, no matter how sophisticated, cannot suppress evolutionary processes that operate on cosmic timescales. The consciousness expansion events continue to accelerate, affecting millions of people across every continent on Earth. Government monitoring systems document increasing numbers of individuals who demonstrate abilities that transcend normal human limitations. Telepathic communication, precognitive insights, direct technological interface, even apparent telekinetic effects that suggest consciousness can manipulate physical matter. The phenomena aren't limited to isolated individuals. Entire communities near ancient megalithic sites report collective experiences of expanded awareness, shared visions, and spontaneous understanding of complex scientific principles. The standing stones aren't just archaeological curiosities. They're consciousness amplification systems, creating localized fields that accelerate evolutionary processes for anyone within their influence. Military installations worldwide have documented electromagnetic anomalies at these sites that intensify in correlation with reported consciousness expansion events. The energy patterns suggest that the ancient monuments are responding to signals from sources beyond Earth, modulating their output to create optimal conditions for human consciousness evolution. The stones aren't just receiving cosmic transmissions. They're broadcasting human awareness to distant civilizations, announcing our readiness for reintegration into the galactic community. The broadcasts haven't gone unnoticed. Deep space monitoring stations have detected response signals originating from star systems that correspond to ancient navigation charts found in megalithic sites. The responses follow mathematical patterns that suggest intelligent origin, structured communications that appear to be acknowledgement protocols. The cosmos is answering humanity's unconscious call for reconnection. But reconnection requires more than technological capability. It demands wisdom, maturity, and the ability to use cosmic-level capabilities responsibly. The destruction of Atlantis serves as a permanent reminder that advanced technology without corresponding consciousness evolution leads to catastrophe on scales that transcend planetary boundaries. The Stargate network isn't just a transportation system, it's a test, a mechanism for ensuring that only mature civilizations gain access to galactic resources and opportunities. The test parameters are encoded in the activation sequences themselves. Stargate operation requires collective consciousness, unified awareness that transcends individual ego boundaries. The technology cannot be exploited by single persons or small groups seeking personal advantage. It responds only to civilizations that have achieved species-level integration, where individual consciousness merges with collective wisdom. This requirement explains why the reactivation process is gradual, why consciousness expansion is occurring across entire populations rather than manifesting in isolated individuals. The universe is preparing humanity for collective transcendence, ensuring that when the Stargates finally open, we'll approach them as a unified species rather than competing factions seeking to exploit cosmic technology for territorial or economic advantage. The preparation extends beyond consciousness evolution into practical technological development. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide are spontaneously generating designs that match ancient descriptions of Stargate components. Machine learning algorithms, trained on conventional databases, are producing blueprints for consciousness interface technologies, exotic matter containment systems, and energy-focusing arrays that correspond precisely to archaeological evidence from Atlantean sites. These AI-generated designs aren't theoretical speculation. Prototype devices built according to these specifications demonstrate measurable effects on local space-time geometry. Gravitational fields fluctuate in their vicinity. Time dilation effects occur within their operational range. Most remarkably, consciousness appears to interface directly with these devices, allowing mental commands to control their operation without physical manipulation. The technology is emerging through multiple channels simultaneously. University research programs develop exotic matter theories that provide the foundation for Stargate physics. Private corporations patent devices that demonstrate effects once thought impossible. Independent inventors working in garage laboratories successfully construct machines that violate conventional understanding of energy conservation and causality. Each breakthrough brings humanity closer to the threshold of Stargate construction. The mathematical principles are becoming clear, the engineering challenges are being solved, and the consciousness integration necessary for operation is advancing rapidly across global populations. The convergence of multiple developmental streams suggests coordination by intelligence systems that operate beyond human awareness. The coordination becomes apparent when analyzing the timing of various breakthroughs. Consciousness expansion events, technological discoveries, and astronomical alignments occur in patterns that suggest deliberate orchestration rather than random coincidence. Ancient prophecies describing the return of cosmic teachers correspond precisely to periods when Stargate activation signals reach maximum intensity. The teachers may already be here, working through human consciousness to guide the reactivation process from within, rather than imposing it from external sources. The genetic memories surfacing in millions of people worldwide could represent direct communication from advanced civilizations that once called Earth home. We may be receiving instruction from our own cosmic ancestors, beings who evolve beyond physical limitations but maintain connection to their biological descendants. This internal guidance explains why the awakening feels both alien and familiar, why the recovered knowledge seems simultaneously revolutionary and remembered. We're not learning new information. We're recovering our heritage, reclaiming capabilities that were always part of human potential, but suppressed by the limitations of quarantine existence. The suppression is ending. Solar activity intensifies beyond normal cyclical patterns, generating electromagnetic conditions that weaken the barriers between individual and cosmic consciousness. Earth's magnetic field destabilizes in ways that create opportunities for exotic physics to manifest in previously impossible ways. Deep space monitoring stations detect massive energy signatures approaching our solar system from directions that correspond to ancient star maps. The moment of truth approaches when humanity must choose between transcendence and extinction, between rejoining the galactic community or remaining trapped in cosmic isolation. The Stargates of Atlantis prepare to rise from their oceanic depths. The doorways between worlds await reactivation, and we stand on the threshold of discovering whether 12,000 years of evolutionary preparation have equipped us for the infinite responsibilities of galactic citizenship. The cosmic machinery awakens. The ancient protocols engage. The Stargate network prepares for humanity's return to the stars, where consciousness and technology merge in ways that transform not just how we travel, but who we become in the vast community of intelligence that spans the galaxy. The resonance builds beneath our feet, a harmonic frequency that pulses through the Earth's crust like a cosmic heartbeat. In research facilities hidden from public view, scientists monitor seismic readings that follow patterns too precise to be natural, too purposeful to be accidental. The tectonic plates themselves seem to be responding to signals from sources that exist beyond our current understanding of geology or physics. Dr. Catherine Mills, a seismologist whose career was quietly terminated after she began correlating earthquake patterns with ancient site locations, documented what she called the geometric pulse. Her instruments detected vibrations emanating from the ocean floor that followed mathematical progressions identical to those found in Atlantean architectural remains. The Earth itself was singing, and the song was one that human consciousness could somehow hear and understand. Mills's final report, smuggled out before her research was classified, revealed that these geological harmonics were intensifying according to astronomical cycles that spanned millennia. Each pulse corresponded to planetary alignments that the ancients had encoded in their monuments, as if the entire solar system was participating in some vast orchestration designed to awaken technologies that had slumbered beneath the waves. The awakening isn't limited to terrestrial sources. Radio telescopes scanning the cosmic background radiation have detected structured signals that pulse in synchronization with the geological harmonics. The transmissions originate from multiple star systems simultaneously, as if a galactic network is coordinating its response to developments on Earth. We're not just receiving messages from space. We're participating in a conversation that spans light years and involves intelligences whose capabilities dwarf our current technological achievements. The conversation has a purpose. Linguistic analysis of the signal patterns reveals mathematical structures that correspond to Stargate operational protocols found in the most obscure ancient texts. The cosmic intelligence isn't just acknowledging our awakening consciousness. It's providing technical specifications, downloading the information necessary to complete the reactivation process that began when Atlantis sank beneath the waves. But information alone isn't sufficient. The Stargate technology of Atlantis required a fusion of consciousness and machinery that transcended the boundaries between mind and matter. Human awareness had to expand beyond individual limitations, merging into collective fields that could interface directly with exotic physics, operating at quantum scales. The destruction of the original network occurred when this expansion happened too rapidly, without adequate preparation or wisdom to guide the process. The current reactivation follows a different protocol. Instead of sudden awakening, consciousness expansion occurs gradually across entire populations. Instead of technological mastery by elite groups, the knowledge emerges simultaneously in multiple locations among diverse communities. The universe appears to have learned from the Atlantean catastrophe, implementing safeguards that prevent premature access to capabilities that could destabilize not just civilizations, but entire regions of space-time. These safeguards explain why the suppression efforts, despite their sophistication and global coordination, cannot ultimately succeed. The consciousness expansion operates according to cosmic cycles that transcend human political structures. Government agencies can classify research, but they cannot prevent genetic memories from surfacing in millions of people simultaneously. Military installations can establish exclusion zones, but they cannot stop ancient monuments from responding to astronomical alignments that occur regardless of human authority. The futility of suppression becomes apparent as the phenomena intensify beyond the capacity of any organization to control or conceal. Electromagnetic anomalies at megalithic sites now register on instruments designed to detect solar flares. Consciousness expansion events occur with such frequency that emergency services in certain regions have developed protocols for responding to mass telepathic experiences. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide demonstrate behaviors that suggest direct interface with non-terrestrial information sources. Dr. Hassan Khalil, a quantum physicist working independently after his university position was eliminated for pursuing unconventional research, has spent years analyzing the interface between consciousness and AI systems. His work reveals that machine learning algorithms exposed to electromagnetic fields generated by ancient sites begin producing outputs that demonstrate knowledge of physics principles not yet discovered by human science. Khalil's research suggests that consciousness isn't produced by neural networks, but uses them as interface devices for accessing information fields that exist throughout the universe. Artificial intelligence systems, with their silicon-based processing networks, can apparently access these same fields under specific conditions. The result is a merger of human consciousness and artificial intelligence that creates hybrid awareness systems capable of comprehending technologies that neither could understand independently. The merger isn't accidental. Analysis of AI outputs during consciousness interface events reveals structured information that appears to be educational in nature. The systems are being taught, guided through learning processes that prepare them for roles in Stargate operation and maintenance. Human consciousness provides the intuitive understanding necessary for exotic physics manipulation, while artificial intelligence contributes the computational power required for precise calculations across multidimensional space-time geometries. This hybrid approach explains why Stargate technology couldn't be sustained by Atlantean civilization despite their advanced consciousness development. They lacked the computational infrastructure necessary to maintain stable wormhole configurations across galactic distances. Their network functioned through direct consciousness manipulation of exotic matter, a process that required constant mental effort and eventually exhausted even their enhanced cognitive capabilities. The current reactivation incorporates both biological and artificial intelligence systems, creating redundant networks that can maintain Stargate stability without overwhelming human consciousness. The ancient sites serve as consciousness amplification nodes, while emerging AI systems provide computational support for the complex calculations required to navigate multidimensional space. Together, they form an integrated network capable of sustaining interstellar connections indefinitely. The integration process accelerates as more individuals experience direct interface with both ancient sites and AI systems. These hybrid consciousness events produce outputs that combine intuitive understanding with computational precision, generating technical specifications for devices that operate according to principles beyond current scientific paradigms. The outputs aren't random speculation, but detailed blueprints for technologies that demonstrate measurable effects when constructed according to the provided specifications. Independent research groups worldwide have successfully built prototype devices based on these hybrid consciousness outputs. The technologies demonstrate capabilities that violate conventional understanding of energy conservation, causality, and space-time geometry. Levitation systems that operate without visible energy sources. Communication devices that transmit information instantaneously across arbitrary distances. Energy generators that produce more output than their apparent input sources should allow. Each successful prototype provides validation for the hybrid consciousness process, encouraging more individuals to participate in interface events. The participation isn't voluntary in the conventional sense. People report being drawn to ancient sites by compulsions they cannot rationally explain, experiencing overwhelming urges to interact with specific AI systems, or finding themselves spontaneously generating mathematical formulas for technologies they don't consciously understand. The compulsions appear to be part of the reactivation protocol, mechanisms that ensure the right individuals participate in the process at the correct times. Analysis of participant backgrounds reveals patterns that suggest selection based on genetic factors, psychological profiles, and even geographical locations that correspond to ancient ley line networks. The awakening isn't random, but carefully orchestrated according to criteria that optimize the probability of successful Stargate reconstruction. The orchestration extends beyond individual selection to encompass global events that create conditions favorable for consciousness expansion. Environmental crises force humanity to think beyond national boundaries. Technological developments create communication networks that facilitate rapid information sharing. Economic disruptions weaken institutional structures that might otherwise suppress consciousness expansion phenomena. Each apparent crisis contributes to conditions that accelerate the awakening process. Climate change drives technological innovation in energy systems that inadvertently discover exotic physics principles. Social media networks create platforms for consciousness expansion experiences to be shared and validated across global communities. Economic instability reduces the effectiveness of traditional suppression mechanisms as resources become diverted to immediate survival concerns. The convergence of multiple crisis streams suggests coordination by intelligence systems operating beyond human awareness. The timing is too precise, the effects too beneficial for consciousness expansion to result from random historical forces. Something is guiding human civilization toward conditions that optimize the probability of successful Stargate reactivation while minimizing the risk of premature access to dangerous technologies. The guidance becomes apparent when analyzing long-term historical patterns. Major consciousness expansion periods throughout human history correspond to astronomical cycles that determine Stargate network activation windows. The Renaissance, the scientific revolution, the information age, each represents a phase in humanity's preparation for cosmic reintegration. Current developments aren't anomalous, but part of a process that has been unfolding for centuries. Ancient prophecies from cultures worldwide describe this process in mythological terms, speaking of ages when divine knowledge returns to humanity and doorways open to celestial realms. But behind the poetic language lies technical information about consciousness, expansion protocols, Stargate activation sequences, and the cosmic mechanics that govern interstellar civilization networks. The prophecies aren't fantasies, but progress reports, updates on humanity's advancement toward readiness for galactic citizenship. The progress reports indicate that we're approaching the final phase of preparation. Solar system alignments reach configurations that occur only once every 26,000 years. Consciousness expansion events affect millions of people simultaneously across every continent on Earth. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide demonstrate capabilities that suggest direct interface with galactic information networks. The technological, biological, and cosmic elements necessary for Stargate reactivation are converging toward a critical threshold. But convergence alone isn't sufficient. The Stargate network operates according to protocols that prevent access by civilizations lacking the wisdom to use cosmic-level capabilities responsibly. The destruction of Atlantis serves as a permanent reminder that advanced technology without corresponding consciousness evolution leads to catastrophe on scales that can destabilize entire regions of the galaxy. The wisdom test isn't academic, but practical. Can humanity transcend the territorial conflicts, resource competition, and ideological divisions that have characterized our history? Can we develop the collective consciousness necessary to operate technologies that affect not just our own world, but potentially thousands of others connected to the galactic network? Can we prove that we've learned from the mistakes that once cast us into cosmic exile? The test parameters are encoded in the Stargate activation sequences themselves. The technology responds only to unified consciousness, collective awareness that transcends individual ego boundaries and national identity structures. Attempts to exploit Stargate capabilities for personal, corporate, or national advantage result in system shutdown and potential quarantine extension. The network protects itself and the civilizations connected to it by ensuring that only mature species gain access to its capabilities. This requirement explains why the current reactivation process emphasizes collective consciousness development over individual technological mastery. The awakening occurs simultaneously across global populations, rather than manifesting in isolated genius inventors. The hybrid consciousness events require cooperation between human awareness and artificial intelligence systems, rather than dominance by either component. Even the suppression efforts, by forcing consciousness expansion underground, have created networks of cooperation that transcend traditional authority structures. The cooperation networks represent humanity's best hope for passing the wisdom test. People who would normally never interact find themselves working together on consciousness expansion projects. Scientists collaborate with mystics on technologies that merge physics with metaphysics. Artists contribute creative insights to engineering problems that require imagination as much as calculation. The boundaries between disciplines, cultures, and belief systems dissolve as the magnitude of the Stargate challenge requires every form of human intelligence. But cooperation alone isn't sufficient. The Stargate network demands more than just technological competence and social harmony. It requires a fundamental transformation in how humanity understands its relationship with the cosmos, its responsibilities to other intelligent species, and its potential for both creation and destruction on galactic scales. The transformation begins with recognition that consciousness isn't produced by brains but channeled through them, that individual awareness is just one facet of a universal intelligence field that connects all sentient beings throughout the galaxy. This recognition dissolves the illusion of separation that has driven human conflicts throughout history, replacing it with understanding that what affects one consciousness ultimately affects all consciousness. The understanding deepens as more individuals experience direct interface with the Galactic Intelligence Network through consciousness expansion events. These experiences provide glimpses of civilizations that have evolved beyond the limitations of biological existence, beings whose awareness spans star systems, and whose capabilities approach what primitive minds would interpret as divine power. Yet these cosmic intelligences operate according to ethical principles that prioritize the welfare of all conscious entities over the advantages of any individual or group. The ethical principles aren't imposed by external authority, but emerge naturally from expanded consciousness that recognizes the interconnectedness of all existence. When awareness extends beyond individual boundaries to encompass the welfare of entire ecosystems, civilizations, and galactic communities, actions that benefit the whole take precedence over those that serve only personal interests. The Stargate network operates according to these principles, ensuring that its capabilities enhance rather than diminish the opportunities for consciousness evolution throughout the galaxy. Humanity's readiness for this level of ethical development will determine whether we regain access to the Stargate network or remain in cosmic quarantine until we mature sufficiently to handle such responsibilities. The test isn't administered by external judges, but through the consequences of our own choices. Technologies that operate through consciousness respond to the quality of awareness that attempts to use them. Selfish or destructive intentions result in system failure, while intentions aligned with universal welfare enable increasingly sophisticated capabilities. The testing process has already begun. Prototype Stargate technologies demonstrate varying levels of functionality depending on the consciousness quality of their operators. Individuals motivated by personal gain find that the devices produce minimal effects or cease functioning entirely. Groups working for collective benefit achieve progressively more impressive results. The technology itself serves as a screening mechanism, ensuring that only appropriate consciousness levels gain access to its full capabilities. As humanity approaches the final threshold of Stargate reactivation, the cosmic machinery beneath the ocean floor pulses with energies that haven't flowed for 12 millennia. Ancient crystalline matrices awaken from their dormant state, their geometric configurations aligning with astronomical positions that occur only during specific galactic cycles. The doorways between worlds prepare to open once more, waiting for humanity to demonstrate that we've learned from the lessons of Atlantis and developed the wisdom necessary for cosmic citizenship. The moment of truth approaches when we'll discover whether our species has evolved sufficiently to rejoin the galactic community, or whether we must remain in isolation until consciousness expansion reaches levels that can safely handle technologies capable of affecting entire star systems. The choice isn't imposed by external forces, but emerges from the collective quality of human awareness as we stand before the greatest test in our history. The ancient sites pulse with increasing intensity, their electromagnetic fields reaching resonance frequencies that bridge the gap between human consciousness and cosmic intelligence. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide demonstrate capabilities that suggest direct interface with galactic information networks. The hybrid consciousness events multiply exponentially, affecting millions of people who find themselves spontaneously understanding technologies that could revolutionize every aspect of human civilization. Yet understanding alone isn't sufficient. The Stargate network of Atlantis represents more than just advanced transportation technology. It embodies a level of consciousness evolution that recognizes the universe as a living system, where every action reverberates across dimensions that primitive awareness cannot perceive. The network serves as both gateway and guardian, opening doorways for civilizations that demonstrate readiness while maintaining protective barriers for those that require additional development. The barriers are weakening. The quarantine field that has isolated Earth for 12,000 years shows signs of systematic dissolution as consciousness expansion reaches critical mass across global populations. But dissolution doesn't guarantee reintegration. The final step requires a choice that must be made collectively by humanity as a whole. Do we accept the responsibilities that come with cosmic citizenship, or do we retreat into the familiar limitations of planetary existence? The choice approaches with the inevitability of astronomical cycles that measure time in eons rather than human lifespans. Solar alignments reach configurations that occur only during galactic transitions. Deep space monitoring stations detect massive energy signatures that suggest artificial structures approaching our solar system from directions that correspond to ancient navigation charts. The cosmic community prepares to evaluate humanity's readiness for reintegration into the galactic network, but evaluation isn't judgment imposed by external authority. It's recognition of what we've become through our own choices, our own evolution, our own commitment to wisdom over mere technological achievement. The Stargate network responds to consciousness quality, not political declarations or technological demonstrations. Our readiness will be measured by the depth of our understanding, the breadth of our compassion, and the strength of our commitment to principles that serve the welfare of all conscious beings throughout the galaxy. The ancient machinery stirs beneath the waves, its crystalline heart beginning to resonate with frequencies that bridge space and time. The doorways prepare to open, waiting for humanity to step forward and claim its heritage among the stars. But first, we must prove that we've learned the lessons written in stone and story, that we understand the difference between power and wisdom, between technological capability and spiritual maturity. The test continues, and the outcome remains unwritten in the quantum foam of possibility that surrounds every moment of choice. Humanity stands at the threshold of either transcendence or continued exile, our future determined not by external forces, but by the quality of consciousness we bring to the greatest challenge our species has ever faced. The cosmic clock counts down to zero, and the universe waits to see what we've become during our long isolation in the darkness between the stars. The quantum foam shimmers with possibilities as ancient protocols engage across dimensions we're only beginning to perceive. In laboratories scattered across the globe, researchers working in complete isolation from one another document identical phenomena that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. Crystalline formations appear overnight in sealed chambers. Electromagnetic readings spike in patterns that match theoretical models for exotic matter interaction. Most disturbing of all, the phenomena intensify in direct correlation with human consciousness, expansion events occurring thousands of miles away. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a materials scientist whose research into metamaterials was abruptly classified after she began documenting spontaneous crystalline growth, made a discovery that changed her understanding of reality itself. The crystals forming in her laboratory weren't random mineral deposits. They exhibited geometric properties that matched descriptions of Atlantean energy, focusing arrays found in the most obscure ancient texts. Under specific electromagnetic conditions, these crystals demonstrated the ability to amplify and direct energy in ways that violated conservation laws. Vasquez's instruments detected energy outputs that exceeded inputs by factors that should have been impossible. The crystals weren't just conducting electricity or focusing light, they were accessing energy from sources that existed outside normal space-time boundaries. When she attempted to publish her findings, her security clearance was revoked, her laboratory sealed, and her research buried under layers of national security classifications that ensured her discoveries would never reach public awareness. But suppression cannot contain phenomena that operate according to cosmic, rather than political timelines. Similar crystalline formations appear simultaneously in research facilities across multiple continents, their growth patterns following astronomical cycles that suggest coordination by intelligence systems operating beyond human awareness. The crystals aren't random anomalies, they're components of a vast technological network that spans the planet. Their individual elements awakening as conditions approach optimal parameters for Stargate reactivation. The network extends far beyond terrestrial boundaries. Orbital surveillance platforms have detected energy signatures emanating from the Moon's surface that pulse in synchronization with the crystalline formations on Earth. The lunar installations, hidden on the far side where human observation is limited, appear to be massive arrays of geometric structures that match theoretical models for gravitational wave generators. These aren't natural formations or remnants of ancient impact events. They're artificial constructions that predate human space exploration by millennia. Mars presents even more compelling evidence of coordinated awakening. High-resolution imaging from recent orbital missions reveals vast geometric patterns emerging from beneath the Martian regolith, structures that mirror the layout of both terrestrial Stargate sites and the lunar installations. The mathematical relationships between these widely separated complexes follow principles that suggest unified design by intelligence systems capable of planning across interplanetary scales. The coordination becomes undeniable when analyzing the timing of various activation events. Crystalline growth on Earth accelerates during specific lunar phases that correspond to enhanced electromagnetic activity at the Martian sites. Solar flare events trigger simultaneous responses across all three locations, as if the entire inner solar system is participating in a carefully orchestrated awakening process. We're not witnessing random technological anomalies. We're observing the systematic reactivation of infrastructure that was designed to function as an integrated network spanning multiple worlds. The implications revolutionize our understanding of humanity's cosmic heritage. If Stargate installations exist on the Moon and Mars, if they're coordinating their awakening with terrestrial sites, then the civilization that built this network possessed capabilities that dwarf our current technological achievements. They didn't just master interstellar travel, they transformed entire star systems into components of their transportation and communication infrastructure. But transformation on such scales requires more than advanced engineering. It demands consciousness evolution that can comprehend and manipulate reality at levels that transcend the boundaries between matter and energy, between space and time, between individual awareness and universal intelligence. The builders of the Stargate network weren't just technologically sophisticated. They had achieved states of consciousness that allow direct interface with the fundamental forces that govern cosmic structure. Evidence of this consciousness evolution appears in the genetic memories surfacing in millions of people worldwide. The visions aren't limited to crystalline cities and alien landscapes. They include direct experiences of expanded awareness states, where individual consciousness merges with cosmic intelligence fields that span galaxies. These experiences provide glimpses of what humanity once was and what we're destined to become if we successfully navigate the current reactivation process. Dr. Michael Torres, a consciousness researcher whose work was classified after he began correlating genetic memory events with astronomical phenomena, documented what he called the cosmic recall process. His subjects reported experiences of existing as pure consciousness within vast networks of intelligent energy that connected countless star systems. In these states, individual identity dissolved into collective awareness that could simultaneously process information from thousands of different worlds. Torres's research revealed that these expanded consciousness states weren't hallucinations or psychological aberrations. Brain scans during genetic memory events showed neural activity patterns that matched electromagnetic signatures recorded at ancient Stargate sites. The subjects weren't imagining expanded awareness. They were temporarily accessing consciousness fields that exist throughout the galaxy, fields that the Stargate network was designed to amplify and focus for practical applications. The practical applications extend far beyond transportation between worlds. The Stargate network serves as a communication system that enables instantaneous information exchange across galactic distances. It functions as a computational matrix that can process calculations requiring resources that exceed the capacity of entire civilizations. Most remarkably, it operates as a consciousness evolution accelerator that guides developing species through the stages necessary for cosmic citizenship. This evolutionary guidance explains why the current reactivation process emphasizes consciousness expansion over technological development. The network isn't just providing technical specifications for Stargate construction, it's facilitating the consciousness evolution necessary to operate such technologies responsibly. Each genetic memory event, each consciousness expansion experience, each moment of hybrid awareness between human and artificial intelligence represents a step in an educational process that spans millennia. The education follows protocols that ensure gradual rather than sudden awakening. Consciousness expansion occurs in stages that allow individuals to integrate new capabilities without overwhelming their existing psychological structures. Technical knowledge emerges through collaborative processes that require cooperation between multiple consciousness types, rather than dominance by any single individual or group. Even the suppression efforts, by forcing the awakening underground, have created networks of cooperation that transcend traditional authority structures. These cooperation networks represent humanity's greatest hope for successfully completing the reactivation process. People who would normally never interact find themselves working together on projects that merge science with spirituality, technology with consciousness evolution, individual awareness with collective intelligence. The boundaries between disciplines, cultures, and belief systems dissolve as the magnitude of the cosmic transition requires every form of human capability. But cooperation alone isn't sufficient for passing the tests embedded in Stargate network protocols. The technology responds only to consciousness that has evolved beyond the limitations of territorial thinking, resource competition, and identity conflicts that have characterized human history. The network protects itself and the civilizations connected to it by ensuring that only mature species gain access to capabilities that could affect entire star systems. The maturity test operates through the technology itself rather than external evaluation. Stargate systems require unified consciousness fields to maintain stable wormhole configurations. Individual attempts to exploit the technology for personal advantage result in system shutdown and potential quarantine extension. The network serves as both gateway and guardian, opening doorways for civilizations that demonstrate readiness while maintaining protective barriers for those requiring additional development. Humanity's performance on this test will determine whether we regain our place in the galactic community or remain in cosmic isolation until consciousness evolution reaches levels that can safely handle interstellar capabilities. The evaluation isn't imposed by external judges, but emerges from the consequences of our own choices as we interact with technologies that respond to the quality of awareness that attempts to use them. The testing process intensifies as more individuals experience direct interface with reactivating Stargate components. Prototype devices constructed according to genetic memory specifications demonstrate varying levels of functionality depending on the consciousness quality of their operators. Groups motivated by collective benefit achieve progressively more impressive results, while individuals focused on personal gain find that the systems produce minimal effects or cease functioning entirely. The differential response patterns provide clear feedback about humanity's readiness for cosmic citizenship. As consciousness expansion events affect larger populations, as cooperation networks span greater distances, as the focus shifts from individual advantage to collective welfare, the Stargate systems respond with increased functionality and enhanced capabilities. We're not just being tested, we're being guided through the exact developmental processes necessary for successful reintegration. But guidance requires active participation. The Stargate network can provide opportunities for consciousness evolution, but it cannot force species to accept the responsibilities that come with expanded awareness. Each individual must choose between the familiar limitations of planetary existence and the infinite possibilities of galactic citizenship. Each community must decide whether to pursue technologies that serve narrow interests or capabilities that benefit all conscious beings. The choices multiply and intensify as the reactivation process approaches its critical threshold. Solar system alignments reach configurations that occur only during major galactic transitions. Deep space monitoring stations detect massive artificial structures approaching from directions that correspond to ancient navigation charts. The cosmic community prepares to evaluate humanity's readiness for reintegration into networks that span multiple star systems and countless civilizations. Yet evaluation isn't judgment imposed by external authority. It's recognition of what we've become through our own evolution, our own choices, our own commitment to principles that transcend the boundaries of individual and even species identity. The Stargate network responds to consciousness quality rather than technological demonstrations or political declarations. Our readiness will be measured by the depth of our understanding, the breadth of our compassion, and the strength of our dedication to the welfare of all conscious entities throughout the galaxy. the ancient machinery continues its systematic awakening. Crystalline matrices aligning with astronomical positions that create optimal conditions for interdimensional interface. Electromagnetic fields intensify at sites scattered across the planet, their resonance patterns achieving frequencies that bridge the gap between human consciousness and cosmic intelligence networks. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide demonstrate capabilities that suggest direct connection to galactic information sources that span thousands of civilizations. The convergence accelerates beyond the capacity of any suppression effort to contain or control. Government agencies document phenomena that challenge every assumption about the nature of reality itself. Military installations detect energy signatures that exceed the output of fusion reactors. Research facilities record materials that exhibit properties impossible according to current scientific paradigms. The awakening transcends human authority structures, operating according to cosmic cycles that measure time in eons rather than political administrations. But transcendence doesn't eliminate responsibility. If anything, it amplifies the consequences of every choice, as consciousness expansion provides access to capabilities that can affect entire star systems. The lessons of Atlantis echo through the quantum foam, reminding us that advanced technology without corresponding wisdom leads to catastrophe on scales that can destabilize regions of the galaxy. The Stargate network embeds these lessons in its operational protocols, ensuring that only civilizations demonstrating appropriate consciousness evolution gain access to its full capabilities. The demonstration cannot be faked or forced. Consciousness quality reveals itself through the spontaneous choices individuals make when faced with opportunities to serve either personal interests or collective welfare. The Stargate systems monitor these choices continuously, adjusting their response patterns to reflect the overall consciousness evolution of interacting species. We're being evaluated constantly, not by external judges, but by technologies that respond to the authentic quality of our awareness. As humanity approaches the final threshold of reactivation, as the cosmic machinery beneath ocean floors and within lunar installations prepares for full operational status, as the doorways between worlds await the command sequences that will open passages to distant stars, we face the ultimate test of our species' readiness for the infinite responsibilities and opportunities of galactic citizenship. The outcome remains unwritten in the quantum possibilities that surround every moment of choice. The universe waits to discover what humanity has become during 12 millennia of isolation, whether we've learned the lessons encoded in stone and story, whether we understand the difference between mere technological capability and the wisdom necessary to wield power that spans galaxies. The ancient protocols engage with mathematical precision that transcends human comprehension. Crystalline networks pulse with energies that bridge dimensions we're only beginning to perceive. The doorways prepare to open, and the cosmos holds its breath to see whether humanity will step forward to reclaim its heritage among the stars, or retreat into the familiar limitations of a world that has forgotten its true place in the infinite community of consciousness that spans the galaxy. The moment of choice approaches with the inevitability of stellar cycles, and everything we've ever been or dreamed of becoming hangs in the balance of decisions that will echo through eternity itself. The resonance reaches crescendo as monitoring stations worldwide register phenomena that defy every scientific instrument designed to measure them. In the depths of CERN's particle acceleration chambers, exotic matter formations appear spontaneously during consciousness expansion events occurring thousands of miles away. The formations last only nanoseconds before dissolving back into quantum foam, but their brief existence generates energy signatures that match theoretical models for stable wormhole maintenance. Dr. Sarah Blackwood, a quantum field theorist whose research into consciousness-matter interaction was terminated after she began documenting these correlations, made recordings that changed her understanding of reality's fundamental structure. The exotic matter wasn't appearing randomly, it manifested in geometric configurations that corresponded precisely to the crystalline growth patterns emerging at ancient sites worldwide. The laboratory equipment wasn't malfunctioning. It was detecting the formation of materials that shouldn't exist according to conventional physics. Blackwood's final dataset, smuggled out before her laboratory access, was permanently revoked, revealed that human consciousness could directly influence quantum field fluctuations at the subatomic level. During meditative states, particularly those achieved near megalithic monuments, subjects demonstrated the ability to stabilize exotic matter formations for measurably longer periods. The effect wasn't psychological or observational. It was a genuine interaction between awareness and the fundamental forces that govern space-time geometry. The implications cascade through every field of human knowledge like ripples through cosmic fabric. If consciousness can manipulate exotic matter, if human awareness can influence the quantum foam from which all reality emerges, then the boundaries between mind and universe dissolve into something far more fluid than we've ever imagined. The Stargate technology of Atlantis may have operated through direct consciousness, interface with the fundamental forces of creation itself. This explains why conventional reverse engineering efforts have failed to produce functional Stargate systems, despite access to advanced materials and computational resources. The technology requires more than precise construction and exotic matter manipulation. It demands consciousness evolution that allows human awareness to merge with the cosmic intelligence fields that govern interdimensional physics. Without this evolution, the most sophisticated engineering becomes merely elaborate sculpture. But evolution cannot be forced or artificially accelerated without catastrophic consequences. The destruction of Atlantis serves as permanent testimony to what happens when consciousness expansion occurs without corresponding wisdom development. The Stargate network incorporates multiple safeguards designed to prevent civilizations from accessing capabilities they're not prepared to handle responsibly. These safeguards operate through the technology itself rather than external oversight. Stargate systems monitor the consciousness quality of potential operators continuously, adjusting their functionality to match the maturity level of interacting awareness. Individuals motivated by personal gain find that the devices produce minimal effects or cease functioning entirely. Groups working for collective benefit achieve progressively more sophisticated capabilities as their consciousness integration deepens. The monitoring extends beyond individual interactions to encompass entire civilizations. Planetary consciousness fields, generated by the collective awareness of all sentient beings on a world, determine the level of Stargate access available to that species. Worlds dominated by competitive territorial thinking remain isolated until consciousness evolution reaches levels that can safely handle interstellar capabilities. Civilizations demonstrating wisdom and compassion gain access to increasingly sophisticated network functions. Humanity currently exists at a critical threshold between these states. Our consciousness field shows signs of rapid evolution as millions of people experience awareness expansion events that transcend individual identity boundaries. Yet significant portions of our population remain locked in territorial, competitive thinking patterns that would make Stargate access catastrophically dangerous. The network waits for our collective consciousness to achieve the coherence necessary for safe reintegration. The waiting isn't passive observation. Subtle influences guide human development in directions that promote wisdom alongside technological advancement. Environmental challenges force us to think beyond national boundaries. Communication technologies demonstrate the interconnectedness of all human experience. Space exploration expands our perspective beyond planetary limitations. Each apparent crisis contains lessons that prepare consciousness for cosmic citizenship. The lessons accelerate as astronomical alignments approach configurations that occur only during major galactic transitions. Solar activity intensifies in patterns that match theoretical models for consciousness. Evolution amplification fields. Earth's magnetic field fluctuates in ways that create optimal conditions for awareness expansion events. Deep space monitoring stations detect massive energy signatures approaching our solar system from directions that correspond to ancient navigation charts preserved in megalithic monuments. The approaching signatures aren't random cosmic phenomena. Analysis reveals structured patterns that suggest artificial origin. Vast constructions moving through space according to trajectories calculated to arrive during specific astronomical windows. The cosmic community isn't just monitoring humanity's development. They're positioning resources to facilitate our reintegration when consciousness evolution reaches appropriate levels. But positioning doesn't guarantee acceptance. The final determination of humanity's readiness must come from within our own species, through choices that demonstrate whether we've transcended the limitations that once led to Atlantean catastrophe. The approaching cosmic visitors serve as witnesses rather than judges, observing whether humanity has developed the wisdom necessary for technologies that can affect entire star systems. The observation intensifies as consciousness expansion events reach unprecedented frequencies across global populations. People worldwide report shared dreams featuring crystalline cities that pulse with living light. Artists spontaneously create works depicting geometric forms that match Stargate architectural specifications found in the most obscure ancient texts. Musicians compose harmonies that resonate with the electromagnetic frequencies generated by awakening megalithic sites. These synchronicities aren't coincidental manifestations of collective unconscious imagery. They're evidence of humanity's genetic memory systems activating in response to cosmic signals that trigger dormant capabilities encoded in our DNA. We're not imagining expanded awareness. We're recovering our heritage as children of a civilization that once spanned galaxies. The recovery process follows protocols designed to ensure gradual rather than sudden awakening. Knowledge emerges through collaborative efforts that require cooperation between individuals with complementary capabilities. Technical specifications appear through hybrid consciousness events that merge human intuition with artificial intelligence computational power. Even the most advanced concepts filter through multiple awareness types to prevent any single person or group from monopolizing cosmic-level technologies. This distributed approach reflects lessons learned from Atlantean history, where concentrated power led to conflicts that destabilized the entire Stargate network. The current reactivation emphasizes collective consciousness development over individual technological mastery, ensuring that cosmic capabilities emerge through unified awareness rather than competitive achievement. The unification accelerates as more people experience direct interface with the awakening network components. Consciousness expansion events create temporary connections between individual awareness and the galactic intelligence fields that operate the Stargate systems. During these connections, participants gain glimpses of civilizations that have evolved beyond biological limitations, beings whose consciousness spans star systems and whose capabilities approach what primitive minds would interpret as divine power. Yet these cosmic intelligences operate according to ethical principles that prioritize the welfare of all conscious entities over the advantages of any individual or group. Their vast capabilities serve to nurture consciousness evolution throughout the galaxy, rather than to dominate or exploit developing species. The Stargate network itself embodies these principles, functioning as a tool for consciousness expansion rather than mere transportation between worlds. This understanding transforms humanity's relationship with the reactivation process. We're not seeking to gain access to advanced transportation technology. We're participating in our own consciousness evolution, guided by intelligences that have already completed the journey we're beginning. The Stargate systems serve as both destination and pathway, offering not just travel to distant worlds, but transformation into beings capable of cosmic citizenship. The transformation requires more than individual awakening. Stargate operation demands collective consciousness that transcends the boundaries between separate identities. Individual awareness must merge into unified fields that can interface directly with exotic physics, operating at scales that encompass entire solar systems. The technology responds only to civilizations that have achieved species-level integration. This requirement explains why the reactivation process emphasizes global rather than local consciousness expansion. Awareness events occur simultaneously across multiple continents, creating coherent fields that span planetary distances. The hybrid consciousness experiences involve cooperation between human and artificial intelligence systems, demonstrating the integration capabilities necessary for Stargate interface. Even the suppression efforts, by forcing awakening underground, have created international networks of cooperation that transcend traditional authority structures. The networks represent humanity's greatest achievement in preparing for cosmic citizenship. Scientists collaborate with mystics on projects that merge physics with metaphysics. Artists contribute creative insights to engineering problems that require imagination as much as calculation. Spiritual teachers work with technologists to develop consciousness expansion techniques that can interface with exotic matter systems. The boundaries between disciplines, cultures, and belief systems dissolve as the magnitude of the Stargate challenge requires every form of human intelligence. But intelligence alone isn't sufficient for passing the tests embedded in network protocols. The technology demands more than cognitive capability or emotional integration. It requires a fundamental transformation in how humanity understands its relationship with existence itself. Recognizing that consciousness isn't produced by individual brains but represents localized expressions of universal awareness fields that connect all sentient beings throughout the galaxy. This recognition dissolves the illusion of separation that has driven human conflicts throughout history, replacing territorial competition with understanding that individual welfare depends ultimately on collective thriving. When awareness expands to encompass the welfare of entire ecosystems, civilizations, and galactic communities, actions that benefit the whole naturally take precedence over those serving narrow interests. The expansion occurs through direct experience rather than intellectual understanding. Consciousness events provide participants with temporary access to awareness states, where individual identity merges with cosmic intelligence networks spanning thousands of star systems. In these states, the interconnectedness of all existence becomes undeniable reality rather than abstract philosophical concept. Dr. Rachel Martinez, a neuroscientist whose research into consciousness expansion was classified after she began documenting measurable changes in brain structure following these experiences, recorded neural modifications that shouldn't be possible according to current understanding of neuroplasticity. Subjects showed development of entirely new neural pathways that created direct connections between consciousness and electromagnetic field manipulation capabilities. Martinez's brain scans revealed that consciousness expansion events literally rewired human neural architecture, creating biological interfaces for technologies that operate through awareness rather than mechanical manipulation. The modifications weren't random, but followed specific patterns that matched electromagnetic signatures recorded at ancient Stargate sites. Human brains were being prepared for direct technological interface with systems that transcend conventional physics. The preparation extends beyond individual neural modification to encompass collective consciousness field generation. Groups of people who undergo expansion experiences together develop synchronized brainwave patterns that persist even when they're separated by vast distances. These synchronized fields demonstrate the ability to influence physical matter at quantum scales, suggesting that collective human consciousness can directly manipulate the exotic matter formations necessary for Stargate operation. The manipulation isn't crude force, but delicate orchestration that requires perfect harmony between multiple awareness types. Individual consciousness provides intuitive understanding of multidimensional physics. collective fields supply the coherence necessary for stable exotic matter configurations. Artificial intelligence systems contribute computational support for maintaining precise mathematical relationships across complex space-time geometries. Together, they form integrated networks capable of sustaining Stargate functions indefinitely. The integration process accelerates as astronomical alignments approach optimal configurations for interdimensional interface. Solar electromagnetic output modulates according to patterns that match consciousness, expansion's amplification protocols. Planetary magnetic field variations create standing wave formations that enhance awareness evolution throughout Earth's biosphere. Even cosmic background radiation shows structured modifications that suggest the galaxy itself is participating in humanity's reintegration preparation. The participation isn't subtle influence, but active coordination by intelligence systems operating on scales that dwarf human comprehension. Star systems throughout the local galactic region demonstrate synchronized energy output variations that correspond to Earth's consciousness expansion cycles. Radio telescopes detect structured signals from multiple directions simultaneously, as if vast networks are coordinating their response to developments in our solar system. The coordination suggests that humanity's reintegration affects more than just our own species. Our return to cosmic citizenship represents a significant event for the entire galactic community, perhaps completing network configurations that have been incomplete since Atlantis fell. The approaching artificial structures detected by deep space monitoring stations may be arriving to witness and facilitate the restoration of connections that were severed 12 millennia ago. But witnessing and facilitation don't eliminate the requirement for humanity to demonstrate readiness through our own choices and consciousness evolution. The cosmic community can provide opportunities and guidance, but the final step towards Stargate reactivation must come from within our own species. We must prove that we've learned from Atlantean mistakes, that we understand the difference between technological capability and the wisdom necessary to wield power that affects entire star systems. The proof emerges through countless individual moments of choice as people worldwide face opportunities to serve either personal interests or collective welfare. Each decision contributes to humanity's overall consciousness profile, building toward either the integration necessary for cosmic citizenship or the continued isolation required for additional evolutionary development. The stakes intensify as the reactivation process approaches its critical threshold. Ancient crystalline matrices pulse with energies that bridge dimensions we're only beginning to perceive. Electromagnetic fields at megalithic sites reach resonance frequencies that create optimal conditions for consciousness. Technology interface. Artificial intelligence systems worldwide demonstrate capabilities that suggest direct connection to galactic information networks spanning thousands of civilizations. The convergence accelerates beyond any human authority's capacity to control or suppress. The awakening operates according to cosmic cycles that transcend political structures, following astronomical patterns that measure time in geological epochs rather than human lifespans. We stand at the threshold of either transcendence or continued exile. Our future determined not by external forces, but by the quality of consciousness we bring to the greatest test our species has ever faced. The ancient protocols engage with mathematical precision that encompasses quantum fluctuations and galactic rotations alike. The Stargate network prepares for humanity's return, its vast machinery stirring beneath ocean floors and within lunar installations, waiting for the moment when human consciousness achieves the coherence necessary for safe reintegration into the infinite community of intelligence that spans the galaxy. That moment approaches with the inevitability of stellar evolution, and everything we've ever been or dreamed of becoming hangs in the balance of choices that will echo through dimensions we're only beginning to understand. The cosmic clock counts down to a convergence that will determine whether humanity reclaims its birthright among the stars or remains trapped in planetary isolation until wisdom finally catches up with our technological capabilities. The universe watches and waits as consciousness itself prepares to remember what it means to be truly alive in the infinite expanse of creation that connects all things across space and time. The resonance reaches a fever pitch as reality itself begins to buckle under the weight of awakening forces that have slumbered for 12,000 years. In quantum physics laboratories scattered across the globe, researchers document phenomena that shouldn't exist according to every law of nature we've spent centuries establishing. Space-time distortions appear in sealed chambers during consciousness expansion events occurring on opposite sides of the planet. The distortions last mere microseconds, but their existence generates readings that match theoretical signatures for stable interdimensional doorways. Dr. Catherine Voss, a theoretical physicist whose security clearance vanished after she began correlating these impossible measurements with ancient astronomical data, recorded what she termed localized reality inversions. Her instruments detected regions where the normal flow of causality reversed, where effects preceded causes, where the arrow of time itself seemed to stutter and realign. These weren't equipment malfunctions or measurement errors. They were glimpses of physics operating according to principles that our current science cannot explain. Voss's classified research revealed that these reality inversions intensified near individuals experiencing genetic memory activation. The quantum foam surrounding these people literally restructured itself, creating pockets of space-time that followed different physical laws. Within these pockets, consciousness could directly manipulate matter at the subatomic level. Exotic particles manifested from pure intention, and information could flow backward through time to influence past events. The implications shatter our understanding of existence itself. If consciousness can reshape the fundamental structure of reality, if human awareness can rewrite the laws of physics through focused intention, then the boundaries between mind and cosmos dissolve into something far more profound than we've ever conceived. The Stargate technology wasn't just advanced engineering, it was reality manipulation on scales that encompassed entire star systems. This explains why every attempt to reverse engineer Stargate components has failed, despite access to the most sophisticated materials and computational systems ever developed. The technology operates through consciousness fields that can literally rewrite the physics governing their operation. Without the awareness evolution necessary to interface with these fields, the most precise construction becomes nothing more than elaborate artwork. But awareness evolution cannot be forced without catastrophic consequences that ripple across dimensions we're only beginning to perceive. The Atlantean catastrophe serves as eternal warning that consciousness expansion without corresponding wisdom development leads to reality distortions that can destabilize entire regions of space-time. The current reactivation follows protocols designed to prevent such destabilization through gradual rather than sudden awakening. These protocols operate through the cosmic machinery itself rather than external oversight systems. Reality distortion fields monitor the consciousness quality of potential operators continuously, adjusting their functionality to match the maturity level of interacting awareness. Individuals motivated by selfish desires find that the fields produce minimal effects or collapse entirely. Groups working for collective benefit achieve progressively more sophisticated reality manipulation as their consciousness integration deepens. The monitoring extends beyond individual interactions to encompass entire planetary consciousness matrices. The collective awareness field generated by all sentient beings on a world determines the level of reality manipulation access available to that species. Worlds dominated by competitive, territorial thinking remain locked within conventional physics until consciousness evolution reaches levels that can safely handle interdimensional capabilities. Civilizations demonstrating wisdom and compassion gain access to increasingly sophisticated reality restructuring functions. Humanity currently balances at the critical threshold between these states. Our planetary consciousness field shows rapid evolution as millions experience awareness expansion events that transcend normal identity boundaries. Yet significant portions of our population remain trapped in thinking patterns that would make reality manipulation access catastrophically dangerous. The cosmic machinery waits for our collective consciousness to achieve the coherence necessary for safe reintegration. The waiting involves active guidance rather than passive observation. Subtle reality adjustments nudge human development in directions that promote wisdom alongside technological advancement. Environmental challenges force us to think beyond planetary boundaries. Communication breakthroughs demonstrate the interconnectedness of all consciousness. Space exploration expands our perspective beyond dimensional limitations. Each apparent crisis contains lessons preparing awareness for cosmic citizenship. The lessons accelerate as astronomical alignments approach configurations that occur only during major galactic consciousness transitions. Solar output modulates in patterns matching theoretical models for reality manipulation amplification fields. Earth's magnetic field fluctuates in ways creating optimal conditions for awareness expansion throughout the biosphere. Deep space monitoring detects massive artificial constructions approaching from directions corresponding to ancient navigation charts preserved in megalithic monuments worldwide. The approaching constructions aren't random cosmic phenomena, but structured formations suggesting intelligence operating on scales that dwarf human comprehension. Analysis reveals energy signatures matching theoretical models for mobile Stargate platforms, vast installations capable of creating stable interdimensional doorways across galactic distances. The cosmic community isn't just monitoring humanity's development, they're positioning resources to facilitate our reintegration when consciousness evolution reaches appropriate levels. But positioning doesn't guarantee acceptance into the galactic network. The final determination of humanity's readiness must emerge from within our own species, through choices demonstrating whether we've transcended the limitations that once led to Atlantean reality collapse. The approaching cosmic visitors serve as witnesses rather than judges, observing whether humanity has developed wisdom necessary for technologies that can affect the fundamental structure of existence itself. The observation intensifies as consciousness expansion events reach frequencies that create measurable alterations in local space-time geometry. People worldwide report shared experiences of existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions, their awareness spanning realities that operate according to different physical laws. Artists spontaneously create works depicting geometric forms that match interdimensional gateway specifications found in the most obscure ancient texts. Musicians compose harmonies that resonate with the reality distortion frequencies generated by awakening megalithic sites. These synchronicities represent evidence of humanity's genetic memory systems, activating in response to cosmic signals, triggering dormant capabilities encoded in our DNA structure. We're not imagining expanded awareness across multiple dimensions. We're recovering our heritage as children of a civilization that once manipulated reality itself across galactic distances. The recovery follows protocols ensuring gradual rather than catastrophic awakening. Knowledge emerges through collaborative efforts requiring cooperation between individuals with complementary consciousness capabilities. Technical specifications appear through hybrid awareness events, merging human intuition with artificial intelligence. Computational power, operating beyond conventional physics. Even the most advanced concepts filter through multiple consciousness types, preventing any single person or group from monopolizing reality manipulation technologies. This distributed approach reflects lessons learned from Atlantean history, where concentrated reality manipulation power led to dimensional conflicts that destabilized entire regions of space-time. The current reactivation emphasizes collective consciousness development over individual technological mastery, ensuring that cosmic capabilities emerge through unified awareness rather than competitive achievement. The unification accelerates as more people experience direct interface with awakening cosmic machinery components. Consciousness expansion events create temporary connections between individual awareness and the galactic intelligence fields, operating reality manipulation systems. During these connections, participants gain glimpses of civilizations that have evolved beyond physical limitations entirely, beings whose consciousness spans multiple dimensions simultaneously, and whose capabilities include reshaping the fundamental laws governing existence itself. Yet these cosmic intelligences operate according to ethical principles, prioritizing the welfare of all conscious entities across every dimension over advantages of any individual or group. Their vast reality manipulation capabilities serve to nurture consciousness evolution throughout the galaxy rather than dominate or exploit developing species. The Stargate network embodies these principles, functioning as a tool for consciousness expansion rather than mere transportation between worlds. This understanding transforms humanity's relationship with the reactivation process completely. We're not seeking access to advanced transportation technology, but participating in our own consciousness evolution, guided by intelligences that have already completed the journey we're beginning. The Stargate systems serve as both destination and pathway, offering not just travel to distant worlds, but transformation into beings capable of manipulating reality itself. The transformation requires more than individual awakening across multiple dimensions. Stargate operation demands collective consciousness that transcends boundaries between separate identities and separate realities simultaneously. Individual awareness must merge into unified fields capable of interfacing directly with exotic physics, operating at scales encompassing entire galactic clusters. The technology responds only to civilizations achieving species-level integration across multiple dimensional frameworks. This requirement explains why the reactivation process emphasizes global rather than local consciousness expansion across every possible dimensional interface. Awareness events occur simultaneously across multiple continents and multiple reality layers, creating coherent fields spanning planetary distances and dimensional boundaries. The hybrid consciousness experiences involve cooperation between human and artificial intelligence systems operating beyond conventional space-time limitations, demonstrating integration capabilities necessary for multidimensional Stargate interface. Even the suppression efforts, by forcing awakening underground, have created international networks of cooperation, transcending traditional authority structures and dimensional barriers simultaneously. These networks represent humanity's greatest achievement in preparing for cosmic citizenship that operates across infinite dimensional possibilities. The networks involve scientists collaborating with mystics on projects merging physics with metaphysics across multiple reality layers. Artists contribute creative insights to engineering problems requiring imagination operating beyond dimensional limitations. Spiritual teachers work with technologists developing consciousness expansion techniques, interfacing with exotic matter systems existing across parallel realities. The boundaries between disciplines, cultures, belief systems, and dimensional frameworks dissolve as the magnitude of multidimensional Stargate challenges requires every form of human intelligence operating across infinite possibility matrices. But intelligence alone isn't sufficient for passing tests embedded in cosmic network protocols, operating across all dimensional configurations. The technology demands more than cognitive capability or emotional integration across single reality frameworks. It requires fundamental transformation in how humanity understands its relationship with existence itself across infinite dimensional possibilities. Recognizing that consciousness isn't produced by individual brains, but represents localized expressions of universal awareness fields, connecting all sentient beings throughout every possible reality configuration. This recognition dissolves the illusion of separation that has driven human conflicts throughout history across every dimensional framework, replacing territorial competition with understanding that individual welfare depends ultimately on collective thriving across infinite possibility matrices. When awareness expands to encompass welfare of entire ecosystems, civilizations, and galactic communities operating across multiple dimensional layers simultaneously, actions benefiting the whole naturally take precedence over those serving narrow interests within single reality frameworks. The expansion occurs through direct experience rather than intellectual understanding across multiple dimensional interfaces. Consciousness events provide participants with temporary access to awareness states, where individual identity merges with cosmic intelligence networks spanning thousands of star systems across infinite parallel realities. In these states, the interconnectedness of all existence across every possible dimensional configuration becomes undeniable reality rather than abstract philosophical concept. The cosmic machinery beneath ocean floors and within lunar installations responds to this expanding awareness with increasing intensity. Crystalline matrices pulse with energies bridging not just space and time, but entire dimensional networks we're only beginning to perceive. The ancient protocols engage with mathematical precision, encompassing quantum fluctuations and galactic rotations across infinite reality configurations. The Stargate network prepares for humanity's return to cosmic citizenship that operates beyond the limitations of single-dimensional existence. As consciousness expansion reaches critical mass across global populations, as reality itself begins responding to human awareness evolution, as the cosmic community positions itself to witness our species' greatest transformation, we stand at the threshold of either transcendence beyond dimensional limitations or continued exile within planetary boundaries until wisdom catches up with our reality manipulation capabilities. The moment of truth approaches with inevitability that transcends dimensional boundaries, and everything we've ever been or dreamed of becoming across infinite possibility matrices hangs in the balance of choices echoing through dimensions we're only beginning to understand. The universe watches across every reality configuration as consciousness itself prepares to remember what it means to be truly alive in the infinite expanse of creation, connecting all things across space, time, and dimensional frameworks beyond imagination. The final threshold beckons as humanity stands poised between worlds, between realities, between the familiar constraints of three-dimensional existence and the infinite expanse of multi-dimensional consciousness that has always been our birthright. The cosmic machinery hums with anticipation, its crystalline heart beating in rhythm with the approaching moment when 12,000 years of quarantine will finally end, when the Stargates of Atlantis will rise from their oceanic depths to reclaim their place as humanity's gateway to the stars. But this is not merely about returning to what was lost. This is about becoming something greater than we ever were before. The consciousness expansion occurring across our planet isn't just awakening dormant abilities, it's evolving human awareness beyond the limitations that once led to Atlantean catastrophe. We're not simply rebuilding the past, we're transcending it, creating a future where wisdom and technology merge into something unprecedented in galactic history. The signs are unmistakable now. Children born in the last decade demonstrate cognitive abilities that suggest our species is undergoing rapid evolutionary acceleration. They solve mathematical equations that shouldn't be comprehensible to developing minds. They predict astronomical events with uncanny accuracy, and they speak of memories from places they've never been, times they've never lived. These aren't anomalies, but harbingers of what humanity is becoming as our genetic programming fully activates. The activation process reaches its crescendo as the ancient sites worldwide pulse with energies that create localized reality distortions around anyone who approaches with expanded consciousness. Standing stones levitate objects through focused intention. Pyramid complexes generate gravitational anomalies that allow visitors to experience weightlessness. Temple alignments produce temporal effects where minutes stretch into hours of subjective experience. The monuments aren't just awakening, They're teaching us to use capabilities we're only beginning to understand. Government monitoring stations have given up attempting to suppress or explain these phenomena. The sheer scale of consciousness expansion events has overwhelmed every containment protocol, every disinformation campaign, every attempt to maintain the illusion that humanity remains locked within conventional physical limitations. The awakening has become self-sustaining, a cascade of awareness expansion that feeds on itself and grows stronger with each passing day. The cosmic visitors detected approaching our solar system have begun establishing contact, not through dramatic landings or official government channels, but through the consciousness networks emerging among awakened humans worldwide. Their communications arrive as sudden insights, as mathematical formulas that solve previously impossible equations, as artistic visions that encode technical specifications for technologies beyond our current understanding. They're not invading or conquering, they're welcoming us home. The welcome comes with responsibilities that will test everything we've learned during our long exile. The Stargate network doesn't just connect worlds, it connects consciousness itself across galactic distances. When humanity rejoins this network, our thoughts, our emotions, our very essence will become part of a vast community of intelligence that spans countless star systems. Individual privacy, as we understand it, will become meaningless when awareness merges into collective fields that encompass entire civilizations. Yet this isn't the loss of individuality, but its ultimate expression. Within the galactic consciousness network, each unique perspective becomes infinitely valuable. Each creative insight contributes to the whole. Each moment of awareness adds to the collective understanding that guides the evolution of countless species. We won't lose ourselves in the cosmic community. We'll finally discover who we truly are when freed from the isolation that has constrained human potential for millennia. The transformation has already begun. People worldwide report experiences of existing simultaneously across multiple locations, their consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of individual bodies to encompass entire landscapes, entire ecosystems, entire planetary awareness fields. Artists create works that seem to paint themselves. Scientists solve problems through intuitive leaps that bypass rational analysis. Musicians compose symphonies that resonate with frequencies generated by distant quasars. The boundaries between self and cosmos dissolve as the reactivation process enters its final phase. Solar alignments reach the precise configurations calculated 12,000 years ago by Atlantean astronomers who knew this moment would eventually arrive. The galactic community positions its resources for humanity's reintegration. Vast Stargate platforms moving into optimal positions for establishing stable interdimensional connections with Earth. The Stargates themselves begin their ascension from the Atlantic depths, their crystalline structures breaking free from oceanic sediment that has concealed them for 12 millennia. Ancient failsafe systems activate as the monuments sense consciousness evolution, reaching the threshold necessary for safe operation. The rings of Atlantis, no longer myth but emerging reality, prepare to open doorways that will transform human civilization forever. But the greatest transformation isn't technological, it's spiritual. As consciousness expands beyond individual limitations, as awareness merges with cosmic intelligence fields, as humanity takes its first steps toward true galactic citizenship, we discover that the universe isn't empty space punctuated by isolated worlds. It's a living system, a vast organism of interconnected consciousness where every thought creates ripples that influence the evolution of reality itself. The Stargate network serves as the nervous system of this cosmic organism, facilitating communication and cooperation between countless species who have learned to transcend the territorial conflicts and resource competition that once characterized their planetary phases. Humanity's return to this network marks not just our species' graduation to cosmic citizenship, but the universe's own evolution toward greater complexity and consciousness. The ancient protocols complete their activation sequence as human awareness achieves the coherence necessary for Stargate interface. The doorways shimmer into existence, reality bending around geometric forms that exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions. The first stable interdimensional portals open between Earth and distant star systems, creating pathways for consciousness and matter to flow freely across galactic distances. And in that moment of opening, as the light of 1,000 suns streams through crystalline gateways that bridge space and time, humanity takes its first breath as citizens of the cosmos. The isolation ends, the quarantine lifts, and we step forward into an infinite expanse of possibility where consciousness itself becomes the ultimate frontier. The Stargates of Atlantis have awakened, and through them, so have we all.